Why are you picking on this one? And I'd be like, listen, okay, first of all, I'd like to know the truth about 7 out of 10 game reviews. A lot of what she says in here is relevant to what we've been talking about today. And the really crazy part, everybody, her fucking comment section is angry with her for this video. So,
well,
what
yeah,
happened?
She has a permanent disability.
What happened? Yeah, well, that's the last time she came up on EFAP was the situational disability shit.
Oh, this is that. Okay, got it.
Because Jim Sterling video. But all right, I'll just you know what? I'll just let it go.
Just real quick, just real quick. I gotta be like quickly primed in this person. Who is this person?
Fringy, I feel like you know better than me, but you're not
Santa
here.
Monica Studios.
Did she start out as?
I believe. Is
well, wait. She gives you some history actually, so it'll work out.
Okay.
She's gonna give you some history on who she is. So we'll be fine.
I can't believe it's happened again. I'm sick of seeing it everywhere. It haunts me. It's in my nightmares. It's in all of my waking hours. It's everywhere. The number 7. Another games journalist has given another video game a 7 out of 10. And today I'm going to tell you why that's fairly common, actually, because there is, like, a pretty good reason for it. Or maybe not necessarily a good reason. I'm not trying to color this reason in any direction. It's just a reason that you see 7 out of 10s as being common.
I feel like already that this is like a defense video.
Why is it so charged?
Considering she's in, yeah, it's already.
I also feel
yeah,
like
it's already charged to be a defense of it.
I feel like her microphone settings are off or something as well. She doesn't.
It's bad. Yeah, the S's are very piercing, and it's at the same time.
Alanah piercing.
As if it's somehow like strange for some individual online to have seen, hey, a lot of games that I think are of very disparate qualities are getting 7 out of 10s. I think that's kind of weird.
Let's put it this way: the intro could be a good intro, or rather an intro that's not offensive as part of a strong video. There are reasons. This is not the right intro for what she ends up saying. Let's put it that way.
I'm concerned about the framing already.
Oh, you're gonna love it, Theo. I particularly want your opinion on this video. You're gonna hate it.
No. Oh, that's always good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Theo, run!
To the extent where we now sometimes refer to 7 as like an average, which is weird, but allow me to explain. First, if you don't know me, sometimes people meme on me for mentioning this, but you'd be surprised the amount of people who comment on my videos who don't even know what my current job is and assume that I'm a full-time YouTuber, let alone a job I used to have, so that's why I sometimes say it.
That's not even remotely a surprise. Most people wouldn't know that even if they're following your YouTube channel, because you'd have to be talking about it all the time compared to what you currently... I just... You know what? It's fine. Continue. Plenty of people stumble across videos for all kinds of reasons. You carry on.
Turns out people don't know stuff. And I used to work at IGN. I was a writer there for 3 whole years.
I'm so sorry.
3 years of writing IGN articles.
I can't help you now, but yeah, I'm sorry.
Which makes me exceptionally qualified. The most professional, lauded source on the internet. Educated to such a high degree. I stuttered, and I feel like that really sells it. The one person on the planet equipped to tell you that step 1 before we get in.
So you see you're joking, but you're not.
Yeah. Why? She's not joking.
You're not joking in the sense that you have the authority to explain why they're 7s, because IGN is the main culprit, right? Isn't that the whole point she brought this up?
I mean, it's certainly the one that's being used as a reference for her.
It feels as though to me she was like, I gotta cite my authority on this, but I need to come across at least a little somewhat, you know, normal.
Well, it's for this topic specifically. Normally, it's like the IGN 7 out of 10. She's citing the IGN experience.
Yes.
Of why she can tell you about what the
which you can be candid
is,
about. You don't need to say, you don't need to do it this way. You know, you don't need to couch it this way. Just be like, hey, this is why they did it from my end. And what's funny is, I don't feel like there's any confusion, because we were just talking about it a little earlier as to why they do 7 out of 10s. We can see how the industry evolved such that it ended up that way, but it's dumb as fuck to the point where we have to, as Fring was mentioning, the decimal points, because we've removed a whole section of numbers as valid because of just how things moved along over time. Obviously not a new thing.
Into the rest of this video, some of y'all take game reviews way too seriously. I will explain why the 7 out of 10 is so common and why it's memed because it's so common and that it doesn't make sense. I feel like so many conversations about game reviews would be like so much more chill if you just remember that it's just some fuck.
Wait, sorry. Did she say that people take them too seriously, game reviews?
Yes. She did.
Yeah.
But like game reviews have a tangible impact on like the video game industry, so
no, you don't understand. It's just games for me.
Well, it depends on what she means by takes too seriously. If she's talking about people who like will kill themselves if a game they like gets a particular number, you know what I mean? Like, it's like yeah, sure, but if she means,
I don't know, wasn't there that thing of like where Fallout New Vegas, because I got like a certain Metacritic score, that Obsidian didn't get like a bonus because they needed to get it above the score, so they matter. So
well, and there's lots of money involved. There's lots of integrity involved, reputation. There's all kinds of crazy, important, and serious things that one would care about that are involved in these things. So it's strange to say, yeah.
And that it doesn't make sense. I feel like so many conversations about game reviews would be like so much more chill if you just remember that it's just some fucking guy's opinion.
Oh,
it is not just.
Then why the fuck are any of you getting paid?
Even if it was just some guy's opinion, can I be mad about some guy's opinion if I don't like it, please?
No.
She's upset at people's opinions. I bet she's been very upset at people's opinions.
I mean, the video is clearly going to be a response to other people's opinions, so why do we care?
Yeah,
people's opinions, so cool. I'm glad we made so much progress today.
Yeah.
Okay, so I now do remember who this person is, and this comes off as kind of disingenuous because I'm pretty sure she's given the take a few times over the years that, like, you know, games are political, games are art, games matter, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, but opinions don't.
And now you're sitting here saying that games don't matter?
No, well, opinions on them don't.
Or it's just okay. Yeah, but the opinions are part of the analysis.
No. No.
I used to be that fucking guy.
Oh, there you go.
Some fucking guy has an opinion on something. That's all a game review is. The fucking guy who writes the review.
Man, this is insightful.
Is no more or less qualified to have an opinion on any other fucking guy on the street about a game. That is my genuine.
What? Holy shit! Really?
An opinion.
Can you?
That is the opinion that I
got lost there. What is she like? Was she saying that?
She said that. No matter who write these articles about games are no more or less qualified than a random person on the street.
I feel like you shouldn't say that.
Well, I was about to say, like, there was two angles to this. One of the more important ones, I guess, is like, are you undermining your whole career? Like, why are you saying that?
That's what I mean. Yeah, like,
would we accept this from like any other field of journalism to say that? How come games journalism? You can be a games journalist without being more qualified to talk about the subject than a random person. But we would obviously not expect this from like any other.
Maybe
kind
she's
of
right.
journalism.
She's talking about IGN reviewers. So.
Maybe obviously less. They're less. Qualified
yeah, the guy on the street is more qualified. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
The cultural perception around video game reviewers has always been like fascinating to me, because can you think of a single like professional group that is so openly reviled and mocked by like the entire like basis upon which they are built? Like nobody takes these people's opinions even remotely seriously. Even in like fairly normie circles, people meme about IGN reviews and game journalists. People refer to easy modes as game journalist mode.
It's because of how openly confrontational games journalists have been with gamers.
So crazy.
And it's like Black Myth Wukong got like a lot of extra kudos for like pissing off games journalists. So it was just
it happens.
When I did it and got paid for it, I personally do not consider game reviews to be journalism, even though they technically are by definition of the word. But again,
but then surely
Wait, what?
Okay.
They're not the point. Okay,
they are, but I don't consider them. Okay.
Okay.
I'll hear you out, but like, what then? What are they?
Yeah, because like this goes. You can go back all the way back to Gamergate with this shit, and obviously all the years between, where these people are saying like, listen, we're the experts. We understand media literacy. We're the ones who are going to tell you what all this means, and it's like, oh, so that was all bullshit this whole time, wasn't it? Okay.
Even though they technically are by definition of the word, but again, it's just some fucking guy's opinion, man. And they certainly are not objective and do not strive to be and shouldn't be, because they are opinion based. They are.
Oh, how about they factual? Can we reach that?
What about factual? Can they accurately describe what the video game is?
That would be nice. Yeah,
objectively.
Yeah, and do it without.
Could they try to represent the thing without their own personal biases in some way? Can we do that?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or at least like account for them, or you know, say that you have them at the start of the review. You know.
Yeah. Listen, when I load up a site and I go to my Star Wars Outlaws review, I want an objective analysis on the way the beads move whenever I walk into the bar. All right. I don't want that. That's no place for subjectivity. I need the facts.
No, that's a bizarre oversight. Those beads, you know.
If one day someone
you can
in
move
my
the beads more than the bodies
and started saying I am a troll who lives under a bridge, like I don't think I would be content with that's just their opinion, you know? If they just start telling everyone that I am a troll, like a swamp monster living under a bridge, I think that opinion is something that I would care to not have more of in the world.
I would prefer, even if it is someone's opinion about a video game, that they don't fucking lie. Whatever.
That would be nice too. I mean, I'd assume they're lying about me being, you know,
just in general. The principle. Maybe we should have less liars.
More bridges have an internet connection. I'm just saying.
I guess so.
Not reporting that just fucking guy has an opinion. And to be clear, before somebody gets upset with me, not being sexist here, women can also be some fucking guy. Like I said,
I wasn't even remotely thinking about that.
I wasn't started because some fucking guys.
Dude, if you, dude, imagine you said as you're walking by, some people's like, "Hey guys," then you go, "Oh, I don't mean that a sexist way."
They're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's like I actually love women and respect them a lot. Actually.
And you know what, women, you could be guys too. You're like, what do you mean? What? Stop! Just move on.
It's the meme of the people in the circle and someone just says something and then the one guy just does the thumbs up and they go back to talking.
Yeah.
I used to be some fucking guy. Gender neutral. It's really just that the guy who does it for IGN has an editorial policy that he has to abide by, probably has more writing experience than the average person, and more people will read it. But
so you're saying he's more qualified?
No, despite all of that qualification, they're still not more qualified to give better opinions on games, even if they're qualified to write.
More informed, more experienced, better ways to translate the experience into words that people can read and understand. You know, like, none of that. No, it's just some guy it's just some guy.
But that is really the only difference. No one's opinion on a video game is any more or less valid than anybody else's.
Fuck yourself.
I disagree.
No, my opinions are a lot more valid than other people's opinions.
What about the people that just lie to me in their reviews? Are they still valid?
I feel like if someone...
What if they tell me this isn't a review about a Star Wars game, but it's actually GTA?
Someone's reviewing Outlaws and they've spent like 200 hours on it versus a guy who spent 4 hours on it. I'm going to be like, well, I feel like one of them's going to know the game better.
What if someone tells me that the first-person shooter mechanics in Super Mario World are really well balanced for the PvP environment?
Yeah.
Fucking Jim Bob, who has played 0 hours of Outlaws but left a negative like Metacritic review, is his opinion like just as valid as yours?
Yeah.
Why should it be?
If your opinion isn't
get a voice.
Jim Bob says
you can't have a more qualified review than someone who's not played it. Then, like, why do any of you people get paid? Is this all one big scam?
We're just denigrating the medium again, as if there's nothing interesting that can be said about things by digging into them more.
Only exception to that, and like I feel that way about films and stuff too, the only exception to that is when, in my opinion, someone who has a ton of expertise is the one reviewing something.
What?
Well, you're supposed to be
expertise. What's
that's the point of doing your job.
Alanah, can you just redo this whole thing?
Yeah, why do you speak when you're just going to like draw a trapdoor under yourself with the exception you're about to add? Like, I don't
like. Let me start with a statement. Done. Now let me continue with how that's wrong.
We're just building sandcastles and kicking them over. That's what's happening right now.
How can someone who's a streamer for a living be so bad at like speaking?
She is not a streamer for a living.
Yeah, so brag.
She said
right.
She said that's
no,
what she does.
She's not
a YouTuber is different.
She is the no. She said I'm not a full-time YouTuber. She is. She works for Sony Santa Monica.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But she has plenty of experience as a YouTuber, though.
She's a part of the industry. In her videos that constantly defend the industry, well, there you go. There you go. She's in.
Not just some fucking guy. Miyazaki, Hideo Kojima. Not just some fucking guy. They go beyond.
Can you stop doing that?
You know, Alanah, it's actually a scale.
What the random
you could
have inward towards
lots of different people at different levels who know different kinds of things. It's not just some guy and then Tarantino. That's actually.
What if Miyazaki says something stupid?
Yeah.
Well, but
it's like
this is a whole fucking topic.
Make games and
may as well just
do make videos.
May as well just let her get past it. It's she already knows she's wrong about everything she's saying right now. Move on.
Fear of some fucking guy in which all of the rest of us exist, but otherwise, 100% of us, IGN.
So just so you guys are clear on this topic about the truth about 7 out of 10s, the first point she makes is you shouldn't really care. So let's get to the next one.
Yeah, because none of us know what we're talking about.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're just some fucking guy. Shut up.
Nobody cares about some fucking guy.
GameSpot, kind of funny. You in my comment section, we're all just some fucking guy. It's actually pretty crazy when you think about it.
Can we take a shot every time she says a fucking guy?
We'd be dead.
I'm gonna give myself a bit more credit.
Is just run by just a guy. Like,
I'm the
what are
guy.
any of us doing? Think about how many things you don't know.
Oh my god,
dude!
We're
how
really
to do,
stuck
or how
on
many
this.
mistakes that you've made, and you're still
for
here,
Theo
and
to
that's just the
explode.
same as the rest of us. None of us have any idea what's really going on.
Next.
We're just some fucking guy who got a job.
I want to die.
Where does
we done
one
it?
agree with literally all of your peers?
Can this be the end
How
of the section,
insightful.
please?
Okay, but first,
Yes.
7 out of 10.
Here we
Why is it so common? Why does it feel like 7 out of 10 has become the average video game score, at the very least, in the AAA gaming space?
Oh my god, it's so bad.
You established all of this. Get on with it.
Why is everything a 7 out of 10? Why is it so common? What happened to the other half of the scale? Why aren't we using it? In my opinion, it actually is.
It's not the other half. It's 70%.
Because 7 out of 10 has become average for AAA games, but maybe not for the reasons that most people would think. Important to note before we get into this that different websites do have different scales.
Oh my god.
Oh no! Do we have to skip 10 minutes of this to get to the point?
For
Remember
IGN,
we
it's
went
not
through
the
the
same as
scale
9
on
for some other
an
website.
anniversary
Do you have
fair?
any feelings about reviews that you look up what their individual scales mean? One thing that I see people mistake all the time is that they think a 10 out of 10 is a perfect score or that it's a perfect game.
Yeah,
For
because
IGN,
it's
for
a
example,
full point.
So the 10...
You can't get any better than 10.
The 10 on the right
Jeez,
side
why
is
would
supposed to
anybody
represent
think that?
maximum quality, and the 10 on the left side means that it fulfilled maximum quality.
If you think 100% means it's all good and perfect, you're wrong.
Yeah,
It's like,
idiot,
okay,
it could
so
have
what
gone
does-
to 11 out of 10. Fuck.
Yeah, why is it? Oh, fuck me.
well, a 10 does not mean perfect. It just means masterpiece because no game is perfect.
What if the website...
Wait, whoa.
What if the website said that 10 out of 10 does mean perfect by their own metric?
Also,
You
what do
said
you
that
mean?
They all have different metrics.
What do you mean a game can't be perfect, miss nobody's objective? That sounds like an objective statement to me.
Exactly.
Oh.
Man, it actually is like a tangled web of like, damn, there's like 4 things wrong with this single sentence.
This is why I'm like, we'll just move on.
Oh yeah, every website has a different metric, except all of them, when they say 10, they don't mean perfect. Even the ones that maybe explicitly say that that's what a 10 means.
For Portal, and maybe also Deadly Premonition, and Doom 93, and Tunic. But that's the list of perfect video games completed. Unless you have anything to add.
Wait, so you just said... no, it's fine.
I know it's a ha-ha meme.
It's a ha-ha
like,
meme, yeah.
but still, yeah.
The floor is yours.
Gungan Frontier, all your favorite
what's happening?
characters in there. You get to play with
on, I blinked.
Fombas and
I fell
Falupa
asleep.
sets and plant trees on the moon. And the UI is a clam. 10 out of 10, perfect game.
There we go. Comprehensive list of perfect.
I want to play the Gungan game.
Why do they feel so entitled to waste your time, man?
I don't know, man.
Don't worry,
Because
Theo.
you're just some
No, really.
fucking guy. Sit down.
We
Theo,
might.
there's
just some
actually
fucking
an
guy.
extra layer to this that you haven't considered. It's that it's not that your time is being wasted. It's that you are freely participating in helping us get rich off of this. So it's even worse than you think.
Listen,
That's
we're a
pretty
fifth
good,
of the way
actually.
through. We may actually start. It may happen. Get excited.
None exist. 10 out of
promise?
10 means masterpiece, right? It is a masterpiece. It doesn't mean it's perfect. But
Maybe.
for whatever website that you
Unless
visit,
they
I don't even know
say
what the
it
fuck-
is perfect.
What use was that even to establish anyway? Well, how does that help any of this conversation?
I
Okay.
don't...
so
maybe
whatever
it'll come
discourse you're
around.
involved in, I recommend checking out their individual scales. And if you look
Okay.
at a 7 on the IGN scale, 7 means good. Not great, just good. When I worked there,
Oh, so already, yeah, we got a problem, don't we?
Yeah, so
And I
it still
review-
doesn't mean average. Good. Good is good. Average is average. That's two different things.
video games and movies and stuff sometimes, Dan Stapleton, the executive editor of reviews at IGN, told me to treat what score I would have if I was having trouble as what would I say if someone walked up to me on the street and asked. So,
Huh?
What does that even mean? Especially considering that you don't have any more or less qualification to talk about it than aforementioned guy on the street
I don't
asking you
understand,
what
though.
the
Like,
number would be.
As opposed to what? When you're presenting it on a website? But then you told me to treat it as though I'm on the street, so...
why is his phrasing not the average gamer asking you the question, not average guy on the street? It's a website for gamers, for video game reviews.
Shouldn't it be
you should
phrased
cater
as like
to what a video gamer would expect?
Whatever immediately comes to mind as an average sort of number to represent the experience, as opposed to whatever you would have said to the guy on the street. That feels like such a weird way to think about it, but I guess that's what she was told, and that's what they tell a lot of people over at IGN.
A 7 would be, yeah, it's good. It's not great. It's good. It's good. Because, to be honest, assigning a score to however many thousand words you've written, where you try to really explain every single nuance of this thing and why you do or don't like it.
You work at IGN. All right, that's not... you guys don't do that.
I'm sorry, your work is laughable. Like, come on.
IGN is it's the laughing stock of the gaming world. Like, what do you? Why would we?
It's absolute pure word garbage. Like, it is completely useless to everyone. It's the most disgusting practice that these people get paid to write that shit.
What's the famous shit? Like, they said too much water in that one game.
Yeah, that was for one of the Pokemon remasters.
Too much water.
Too much water. Yeah.
The thing is, in that, I will defend that one. I will defend that one in the case that it's not the writer's fault. That was the editor's fault.
That's IGN.
I'll just go to other embarrassed. Yeah, it's still IGN. So that's
I don't care whose fault
IGN
if it was. If someone hacked them, fair enough.
Like the other things we can point out is they gave Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, the old one, like a 9. That is insane. It is not a 9 out of 10. But they gave lots of Call of Duty games really high scores back then.
Mm-hmm.
It is extremely difficult and sucky, but it's just really important to audiences. Like, it gets clearly so much engagement from these websites. People want the opinions distilled into a
you need them views, and you'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I don't think she realizes what she's saying. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Little number. It generates so much discourse. It generated this video, technically, and probably many videos about 7 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 game reviews that exist on this platform. Audiences clearly are...
Man.
Stop talking.
Yeah, it's taking forever.
Whenever you're fucking ready.
Score. For writers, it sucks. So when you're having trouble being like, I don't know.
For writers, it sucks. It's your job. You got paid to do it. So let's calm down.
It doesn't suck. I'm sorry. I refuse to agree with that. Like, I can't average out a fucking number on a 1 to 10 scale. Are you kidding me? What am I going to do? I'm going to die.
It's words to still to. How am I going to figure that out? A good way to do it is, what would you say someone came up to you on the street? So a 7 is, it's good.
No, I would talk.
And firstly,
you want to hear a cool trick? You can have a conversation with people that doesn't include a number scale. It's like, hey, what's about this game? It's like, yeah, so here's all the things I want to talk to you about, and then now you can gauge if you would like it or not. And then maybe I can put a number on that at the end if I really want to. But the number is kind of useless because I just told you all the things, and now you can see if that's interesting to you. I'm already saying more things that are more interesting. Just move on. I want to go to bed.
No. And also, Theo, you're still alive, right?
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I'm just checking, because you would have died by now on certain videos, but this one, I think you... I'm just making sure, I'm just checking your blood pressure every once in a while.
That does encompass a lot of video games, especially when you're a reviewer. People who review games or play games professionally are, by virtue of the thing that is their job, playing a lot more video games than most people. Now, before you get mad at me for that, it's...
Ooh. I don't know. You're playing a lot more video games, but you're playing them a lot less deeply.
For instance, like, people would often, it shouldn't surprise people, but it makes a lot of sense. A lot of people who develop games don't play their game very much because they're too busy working on the game. So they don't have...
Like that Star Wars Outlaws game.
Yeah, or just people who are just pouring their heart and soul into making a game. You know, they don't have the time to spend necessarily playing that game and getting some sort of a organic or semi-organic like gameplay experience. They're too busy working on a game. So
also, many of the devs, like the director, can just tell them what to do, and they don't really know why they're doing it. They could just go in quite blind.
I can guarantee you, several of the components that created what was Star Wars Outlaws did not have communication. Like they did not know.
Absolutely.
I'm also curious, is she currently making the argument that some people are more qualified?
No, she would never say that. No.
That would be crazy.
Like, is that actually what she's doing?
We'll roll it back.
And you're a reviewer. People who review games or play games professionally are, by virtue of the thing that is their job, playing a lot more video games than most people. Now, before you get mad at me for that, it's just that they're allowed to do it during work hours. So they're playing more video games than every other human who has a job that is not in the games industry because they're allowed to play games at work. So, like,
So that means they don't want to go home and do the thing that they would do at work.
I think. So maybe. She's trying to find a nice way to say this part, but I'm gonna need to know what she means. It means because she's saying that like they're already playing at work while people who aren't in that job aren't. So their playtime, much like a normal person's, would still have the game in it, meaning they end up playing on average maybe more games than people do. It's like meaning what? That they're more qualified? Say it.
By default, they have more hours on any given day in which they can/are playing video games. But because the average games journalist is able to play more video games than the average reader, it's kind of another reason that
also this association with they
I'm
play more
waiting
video
for
games
any second for her to say they're more qualified.
Judging the quality of
She's
games.
moving around what that means. It's like, tell me what it means, Alanah. Tell me.
the review is just some fucking guy's opinion. What somebody who has played 1,000 games thinks of a game is inherently going to be different to what somebody who's only played.
Different. Different.
Yeah. Sure. Different.
She's right about it.
God.
Different.
Different how?
But different how, Alanah? Tell us, Alanah.
Yeah. Say it.
Played 100 games of a game
Just
because you are coming into that with that wealth of knowledge, experience, and
wealth of knowledge
of
does
knowledge
not sound
from-
like it's a difference. It sounds like an improvement.
The wealth of knowledge from just not even paying attention to the 50 games you played today.
I know. What
Yeah,
matter?
nice.
What does it matter if you play? What if you end up like the G-Man guy who plays Outlaws for 4 hours, releases review, which is a tantamount to misinformation at this point, and you do that for 10 games? Does that make you more of an expert than the guy who played Outlaws for 10 hours and said, "Oh, it's shit"?
If anything, all she's fucking saying is that the games these people play just blend together into a slurry of content stuff in their mind, and they have nothing left to say about it.
7 sounds safe.
Or maybe what she's saying is, this is a bit of a stretch, but maybe she's saying that the actual number of games will make you better at analyzing games. Fair enough, but at the start of the video, when she was talking about who's qualified, she's making like an argument from expertise, and there's no like degree of games journalism you can go to school and get, right? So maybe for her it's just entirely an argument from authority.
Well, she's stepping all over herself is kind of the point, because we already, I don't think it's a hot take to say there are people who are more qualified and less qualified to talk about any given topic. It's like, that's totally chill. The fact that she wanted to avoid that because she wants to play the card of everyone's opinion is just as valid as everyone else's, but now simultaneously she's like, you will listen to my authority because it is my job to play games, and I worked for IGN, which, look at me, holier than thou, look, I'm better than you, I know, just kidding, but that is true. Anyway, moving on. She's like, whoa.
Side note, did somebody just like fucking tumble down the stairs just now? Like, what was that?
That was Em, yeah, he's okay.
That was me.
You okay there, buddy?
He's crying in his avatar.
Destroyed.
Yeah,
look at him, tearing up.
Those set your
You're getting
expectations.
destroyed
Like
too,
you might find something bland or generic because you've played 10 other games like it. If someone has played less games than you, they may not feel that way. Imagine somebody playing Star Wars Outlaws as their very first Ubisoft game.
No!
Oh no!
Damn, this Ubisoft company's got to suck.
That'd be real.
But also good for them for not playing a Ubisoft game.
Yeah, that's the takeaway. They resisted for so long.
Myself was like, I'm kind of burnt out of Star Wars. I'm kind of burnt out with the Ubisoft formula right now. This feels very samey. It's not grabbing me. So I tried, and I decided that I wasn't going to play any more of it.
You give it a 7? Did you rate it a 7 out of 10?
But someone who's never played a Ubisoft game before might be like, holy shit, this is crazy. What is this? We're all just a bunch of guys who have just fucking opinions.
I don't know.
Oh my God.
I'm already a little bit frustrated because it's like, what is the criticism? I'm kind of burnt out on Star Wars and the Ubisoft formula. Nothing they were saying that any of these things are bad. It's very soft criticism. Instead of, oh, well, imagine it's your first game because you don't know how much better they could be. Right? Like, it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yes. No, I get it. I think I get what she's saying now. She's saying something like, because everyone has different tastes, no one's review can actually be...
That's the thing. She's not saying
everyone's got different experiences that define how they react to stimuli and everything. Yeah, sure. Get on with it. Holy shit. She already made this point like 4 times.
Yeah.
It's subjective, and it's impossible not to be subjective. You are inherently bringing all of the experiences that you have had into every opinion that you form, pretty much everything. And that's why reviews all
obviously. Moving on.
An opinion. Secondly, I think there's a misconception that 5 is supposed to mean...
Wait, what was firstly again?
What was first? Firstly was blah 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 blah.
The firstly is that we're all different. We all have different tastes.
I thought we
all have different tastes.
Is that the first?
We already did that.
Yeah, it took her 7 minutes to say it.
Yeah, have opinions. Do you guys know that?
Fuck, I'm trying to remember if there was an actual firstly for the 7 out of 10 shit, or was there not?
I think it was just that.
It was just that they're all subjective. Everyone has to. Okay, fine. Jesus.
Great.
I mean, average on the scales where it doesn't, at least not on any of that I've ever seen.
Well, so here's the thing, though.
That's mediocre right there.
This is the easiest way to explain it. On Metacritic, a 60 or above is green. That's good. In the video game industry, it's got to be above 7.5 to be considered in the green. It is off. Like, when you say that a 7 is good, that's not how it's viewed in the film industry. A 6 is good in the film industry. Or a 6 is at least positive, right? Whereas here, a 7 out of 10 is like positive. That's like the lowest you can get. And even then, right? If it's rated in the orange, that's mixed reviews. The standard is off. It is.
Yeah.
Here, let me give you guys a hunch, okay? I have no evidence for this directly when it relates to games, but this is where my intuition's going. I spent a semester teaching high school, and I learned when doing that, because I was on track to become a teacher. I didn't like it. I did like my test semester, then I said I'm changing my degree. But I did that for a semester, and I learned that teachers cannot actually give students less than 45 in Canada, where I am. And I think I've spoken to some American teachers. They say that roughly the same thing, like 40, 45. Even if the student never shows up to any class for the entire school year, you still must at least give them 45%. You can't, like, it's still a failure, but they say it hurts the student's self-esteem if you give them like the 0.
When they didn't even turn up.
Well, we wouldn't want to. We wouldn't want them to spare in the fucking.
Yeah, it's stupid, but yeah. So even if like a student handed in a test and they got like 20%, I was required by the job to give them 45%.
Listen, we've still got a decent portion of video left. She will get to some things that are going to rock your world, okay?
Well, she better hurry the fuck up.
15 seconds, okay? I think just that idea has kind of permeated everywhere, including games, where just you can't give someone a 1 or a 2 or a 3, you're going to hurt their feelings. So now everything's been pushed up towards the top.
Well, whether or not you're trying to explain why it might have happened in certain areas is one thing. It's not going to be the reason she gives.
Okay.
An opinion. Secondly, I think there's a misconception that 5 is supposed to mean average on the scales.
I thought every reviewer had a different meaning for what these numbers mean.
I guess she's specifically talking for IGN now, is it? Is that what she's doing?
Is she?
I'm not sure. I don't know if this is IGN's fucking list of scores. It might be.
I mean, this is the IGN list.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I think she's spoken specifically about IGN.
Where it doesn't, at least not on any of that I've ever seen. A 5 for IGN means
any I've ever seen. Okay, so not just IGN then.
Rip. Yep. She is being stupid. Well, how many times do you contradict yourself? Jesus, Alanah.
You described it as something that is blunt.
Isn't this a bad example though? Because 5 says mediocre. Isn't that average?
Yeah, it is average.
I mean, MED. Well, it kind of is.
Mediocre is like below average, I think.
Well, it has very negative connotations.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, like, whether or not. Would you say okay represents the middle of the road?
I think that, because for they have a 6
fine,
for IGN is okay, which basically means if you're below that, you're fucked.
Yeah.
On the IGN scale.
Fallout 76.
I agree. Mediocre has never been used to describe something being fine.
No, mediocre has
it is at best I mean, it's like it's
mediocre.
It's built into the etymology of it, but it means like the medium, moderate quality.
And yes.
But we use it to say that we use it in a negative way to describe something. So,
all right.
At least not on any of that I've ever seen. A 5 for IGN means mediocre. They describe it as something that is bland and unremarkable. And I guess
But here's the thing, like, it should say, because you prescriptively can say what your rating system is, 5 should be average,
That definition, I wouldn't be like super uncomfortable personally categorizing Star Wars Outlaws that way, maybe. I haven't played enough that I feel confident saying that. But that becomes complicated when you realize how many games do fit below the 5 category, and that's kind of the point of this video.
That's fine.
Yeah, then put
that's
them
fine.
there.
If a lot of games are shit, that's fine.
Get ready.
Regs, you can't hurt their self-esteem.
Below average.
It's just gonna end up with Fucking,
this is gonna
if
be
we give them
painful.
bad points, we're not gonna get the fucking game early, so we can.
I forgot.
Band-Aid. Just say it.
I forgot how long it takes for it to actually get to these points, but this is I can get excited now.
Below the 5 category, and that's kind of the point of this video. 5 is not actually baseline average, and it makes sense that most scores that these outlets give are going to be above a 5, because in comparison to the amount of video games that come out, the AAA games that people are playing, the games that are popular enough for people to even be talking about them, for somebody to need to write a review about them, are going to be in that upper category. Like, there are so many video games that come out. And the truth is, most games that release are very, 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 very flawed. Most games that come out don't even have an inch of the complexity that you see in something like Star Wars Outlaws. And you may
why are we why are we talking about complexity when it comes to quality?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Already we're in a bad spot.
Really now.
Tetris is pretty straightforward. Tetris is pretty simple.
You talking about that 3 out of 10 game?
I also love how we can just appeal to this fucking invisible other, like, avalanche of completely non-functional games to justify not using the majority of the scale.
Yeah,
yeah.
As if,
what's the point of even saying that? How often is IGN reviewing some random game that's on the new sellers list on Steam?
I noticed that as they were going down the review scoring thing, is like as you got down the list, the games got progressively less real, to the point that there was like games nobody's heard of, nobody will ever play. They're just
shooty game 23.
I'm already like pissed off at the idea that I cannot rate Outlaws lower than apparently like a 5 or 6 because of its complexity.
Yeah,
what the fuck are you talking about?
Who cares about the complexity? Super Mario World isn't that complex compared to Star Wars Outlaws in a sense, but it's a way better, more polished, refined, well-designed, great game.
Again, Vampire Survivors. It's just you walking around and picking shit up.
If you shoot for the stars and miss, I think the guy who shot for the moon and landed will like have you beat. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I think so.
With some kind of like offense, as though you think that Star Wars Outlaws is not complex. And that would be totally fair if you compare it to everything else that you've played. But if you compare it to the games that come out, it has
everything else you've played.
Why are we talking about complexity? It doesn't matter.
You peasant.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Also, just it's so cheap. Like this invisible other games. What other games? Which ones? Are you literally talking about like the Steam asset flip garbage?
Oh, yeah, what a great question.
If we're talking about stupid clown games, just fucking who cares about them?
They give them
to go at one. They can have one.
Why give them the power?
Let us continue, shall we? Let us delve deeper.
all of the shit. Listen, all the shit phone games. They gotta have like 1, 2, 3,
the
and 4.
games that come out, it has incredibly complex systems. Most games aren't even close to that level of complexity. Most games that release have one song, they have maybe 2 inputs, they have very few.
One song,
fucking games.
The amount of tracks on the
game,
OST
dude.
adds to the complexity of the video game.
Name
if it has
5
more tracks
now.
On the
Name
OST.
Cheetahman has one song.
That's true.
This point goes out the window
Tetris has one
immediately
song.
unless she can name
that's
5
3,
games
I
that
think.
match this description off the top of her head immediately.
And any 5 Atari games will do, frankly.
Mechanics, they're just, you kind of press the same button over and over and over again. A lot of them crash all the time.
What
They're very
fucking
buggy.
games?
Sometimes they don't even have music. Most games that come out do.
Well, Outlaws crashes all the time.
Which fucking
Outlaws does crash quite a bit.
But Rags, the crashes are complex, so you know you have to give him points for that.
One of them certainly was complex. Yeah.
Not
Does she think the industry is still in the 1990s?
God, I kind of want to ask that question actually.
I mean, I know there's one piece of information that's going to make all this make sense. We're almost there. I'm just
Bing Bing Wahoo 1-Up is still what games are doing, except when Star Wars Outlaws comes out. Like, what?
come out do not have even like an inch of the complexity or nuance that you are used to in AAA video games.
That you are used to.
Bad UI, unintuitive controls, just all of the things that net them somewhere between 1 to 5 on a game review scale. That means that they kind of need the space.
Non-functional non-games.
The 5 to 10 for the other games.
Listen, those games had to die so that Outlaws could crawl.
Could
Fucking
crash.
name them now. Name them.
Basically at a point where hundreds, if not thousands of games are released every single day, usually from one-person teams who do not do it full-time. You don't even hear about these games.
Is that true?
I'm going to do an
Well, if we don't even hear about them, then why are you allowing it to impact the scales of these
you
incredibly
used to tell
popular
other people
sites?
about games. And
thousands of games a day?
What if this one random game
number.
that no one's ever heard of is really bad? That's why Star Wars Outlaws is a 7, because it's more complex than
It's
that
just
game.
so bad
because some guy made a thing that was terrible.
Well, you see, it's so bad it has to occupy every fucking number from 1 to 6. It's like
that sounds like a really complex game.
Listen,
to take up that much of the scale.
I am thoroughly like in a position of enjoying the fact that she's framing this as though you're not aware that there are trash games that get made in the world. Like, you don't know about this. You wouldn't know because you, consumer, you only play the AAA games, but me, an advanced IGN ex-employee gaming master professional, can tell you that there are such games that barely even work. Can you believe it?
Wait, a game that barely even works? That'd be crazy, man.
That's so nuts.
Especially if it was like a Star Wars game.
Especially if they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on it, yeah.
Experiment for you all right now. I'm going to boot up the 3 most recent releases on Steam and play them for you right now. I don't know what they are. This is not rehearsed. It's not going to be the games on the bestsellers list, just the most recent releases, new releases on Steam, and I will show you exactly what I'm talking about, of like what majority of video games that release actually look like. Okay, everybody,
She says this like we're not going to have any concept of what we're about to experience. It's so condescending, it's insane.
There's weird games on Steam?
Whoa, you're going to check out the fucking community tabs and shit, all the crazy, the alpha, awful things that people just shove on there. The fucking, like, copycat nonsense, the asset flips. Did you know all these things exist? That's why Outlaws isn't as bad as you thought. Are you serious? What era are you from? We already know about all it. Bad games have existed forever. What are you talking about?
The program.
Downloaded the 3 most recent releases on Steam. They are Doll Catching Simulator, Future Breach, Youngblood, which is free to play, so that's pretty cool, and Zool Dungeon. Let's start with Doll Catching Simulator. I need settings so I can...
What's this?
It immediately tried to change the aspect ratio and it immediately crashed. This time it didn't even have a menu. Cat? Oh, AD key, switch the claw machine. Enter key select.
So is she trying to find
Enter
bad
key,
games? Like, what is she doing
enter,
right now?
She's trying to prove that your average game on Steam means that Outlaws is good.
This has physics, which is actually pretty cool. Enter. Just like in real life. They've nailed it, to be honest. Pick it up, pick it up. We got a cat here.
This game's better than Outlaws,
Am I the world's first?
This seems more functional than Outlaws. Not bad.
What was it called? Doll Catching Simulator Speedrunner? I might be. I feel like that's maybe it. I did get a couple of cats. Look at me go. I like this. This is cool.
Did you say I feel like this may be it? As well. So how you like you don't even know.
How do you think the person who made this, or the people who made this, feel about you essentially like doing some fucking journalistic tourism through its neighborhood, being like, hey, I need to find some of the shit,
trash,
like garbage pisser games that have been coming out on Steam. Let's have a look at this one and being like, oh, this is quaint and nice. But anyway, this game right here is why 1 to 6 can't be used, because this game belongs there.
This is why Outlaws should be respected. This shit trash.
There's each number on the scale only has enough room. So there's not enough room in 1 through 6 anymore. Because all of those random games that you've never heard of that the guy in Moscow made for, you can't do it. But it just so happens that around the 6 mark, we start having openings.
The rooms are opening again, yes.
Yeah. Ooh. Turns out those are
some hotels opening up. Plenty of rooms available. Let's go.
That is Doll Catching Simulator. It functions, to be honest, very simple. The art is not great, but it works. 7 out of 10. Next.
Was that a bit?
That was a meme.
I hope so.
But like, this is not the time for a bit. We need to know what this. We need analysis, don't we?
We do.
What?
No, you need Smarm.
We have Zool Dungeon. I have no idea what this is. Trap? Zool, not enough. Unlock trap first. Okay. Right click to spawn your monster. Click him.
Just select monster.
Spawn him. Click him. Spawn him.
I don't appreciate the reading things as though they're insane thing you're doing.
I really just don't trust any of this person's
base
impressions.
HP point on summon.
HP. I guess that means like health points or maybe hit points. Maybe like
DEF1 speed,
like Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe this is an homage to Dungeons and Dragons.
Hunter level 2.
Because this is edited, I just don't have any faith that she's not just cutting out like explanatory things about the game that it might have led with. I don't know. I have no faith in this person to be honest with me about the game I'm looking at because of the way this is presented.
What's the timer for? Why am I being timed? The surviving Hunter destroy Hunter camp. I'm earning money, I think, maybe? Oh, this text. Increase base HP PT on summon.
Yeah, those are symbols that represent like letters. They represent sounds and they create words. And the words have like shared understandings.
Increase movement speed on. Increase movement speed on. Oh yeah, okay, I can wait. I can give him little buffs. That's cool. So now we got like a jacked up Hobu. Am I trying to kill these guys? Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, got it. I think this is maybe I just spawn these in to kill these dudes. Oh, did I lose? Well, that's Zul Dungeon.
Do you think that is sufficient to know what the fuck that was? What was that? I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like
store.
Yeah, I got nothing.
ZOUL Dungeon.
What is even the point of this exercise if you're going
to edit parts out of it?
Zul Dungeon is a game.
Future Youngblood, a game that is.
Wait, did she give a number for that one at least?
Yeah, we're done with that one. We get one go.
Compelling. Last but not least.
She called it compelling.
It's like I think it's like a Kagero game almost. If you guys played that series.
No.
Okay, that sounds like one of those games I don't play.
Kagero is basically you have a map, and usually the map's some kind of mansion, and there's like dumb teenagers who show up, and they're like, "We're gonna explore this haunted mansion," and then you, being the ghost, you lay down traps for them to get caught.
Because this video killed me, so I'm a ghost now. That's true. It's lore accurate.
I see.
but the idea is like you set up traps for invaders into the house to fall into, and the more creative your traps, the more points you get.
Well, this says, Zul Dungeon is a strategic dungeon defense game where you take on the role of a dungeon master, summon monsters, upgrade your lair, and set traps to fend off waves of greedy adventurers. Protect your treasures and prove your worth as the ultimate dungeon overlord. It released on September 11th, 2024.
Oh no!
So
these can be fun games, actually.
This is what I mean. Like they're not even. We'll just let her get through the 3.
Is Future Youngblood, a game that is apparently made with Unity. Game? Hello, this is a preview build to show the initial gameplay. Later versions will...
What are we doing? What's happening in this video?
It doesn't got visuals.
She's telling us...
I can't do this far. As it turns out, Future Breach Youngblood was just a demo, so I'm going to go back to the Steam library. Or the Steam
play the demo.
And
we will get a demo. You don't need to buy it.
It's a demonstration. Yeah. That's what it's short for. You know that, right?
Deep in the dungeon. I need to reach floor 240 to escape from here. Okay. I like the music. Not something I could see myself playing for a super long time.
What the fuck was even... We don't even... What the...
I don't even know what's happening yet.
Deep in the dungeon.
I feel like this has dramatically backfired. Almost completely, to the point of actually making brand new random games on Steam look pretty fun. Like, you can just find all kinds of things. I think she was desperate to find absolutely trashware, like, just nonsense crap, and she didn't. And she's like, fuck. Like, this is
so it's like
fine.
A tile... Yeah, it says it's a roguelike game where players explore a mysterious dungeon. Monsters and items are randomly placed each time, adding unique challenges to every playthrough. Your goal is to find the way out using your skills and strategy to fight and survive. So there's like, I guess there's tiles, and you have to go through, and you could unlock things and upgrade your guy and do stuff.
That sounds awful.
And then you have to get through enough like monsters and tiles, I guess, to get to the end.
After everything you just said, Rags, I just feel the urge to say that Star Wars Outlaws is actually a 7. Turns out.
Yeah.
True.
There's probably only one song too.
But you said
at this rate, but it's really just arrow keys, which means you can move through it pretty fast.
Of course, that's what Tetris is. That's how a lot of games
why would
work.
You run into the...
I don't know. This is so
into the big golem, dude.
I don't even know what to do with this.
Oh my god!
Like,
you can hear her just tapping down, like she's
not even paying attention. She has no idea what's going on.
if you just go back a bit, she's going through all the selections of each row and just just go down.
This should terrify you as a game dev to have IGN review your game.
It's a fucking.
It's this fucking dumbass.
She introduced in the video that she was like more qualified because not only has she got so much experience playing games, playing them professionally on YouTube, having worked for IGN, she now works with Santa Monica, and this is her assessment of video games. Like what? What?
This has vibes to me of like the rich person. Yeah, let's go and see how the poor's live.
This isn't even worthy of my attention. Oh, look at the cute pixel graphics.
How can you be this experienced with video games?
It's actually really disgusting.
She's this confused. She doesn't know what's happening. Dev's totally right. You can tell the idea is you have the options to choose, and you'll have risk, reward, benefits, and losses. It'll lead you to different pathways that engage it. You're supposed to consider where you're going. Then she starts spamming the down button. She's like, I guess you just press keys. Oh, this is brilliant.
Really as artistically refined as Alan Wake 2.
Like, just writing off what these people have tried to make. It's so fucking gross.
Yeah, this is... Look at this. You can clearly tell someone made a thing here. They didn't just... Like, it's not... You know what I mean?
Something.
This person made a game and put it out into the world. That's more than you're ever gonna fucking do.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they didn't ramble in front of a webcam for...
Dude, I'm so upset.
Is there an accessibility option for
leave these people the fuck alone?
Yeah, but you have to understand, if you, peasant, knew about these games, you'd understand why Outlaws deserves a 7.
Yes.
Yeah, so just pressing down is like booting up FTL and then saying, oh, you're just clicking on things.
If I spammed...
Well, there's a lot to FTL, actually.
Dude, imagine I boot up Tetris when it was first fucking released, and I put it in this video that I spam up, it goes shape, up to the top, defeated, or whatever, and I go, ooh, okay, well, it's a bit awkward.
To deserve being used in your fucking
I tried to put all the colors
Safari.
close to each other.
Yeah, I press the buttons and I just lose, I guess. Okay, no, good game, yeah.
How come the colors aren't matching? I'm putting all the colors together, but they're not going anywhere.
Shitty long game. Time at this rate, but it's really just arrow keys, which means you can move through it pretty fast.
I fucking hate this.
10 down in a row. Down.
This is a good screenshot, though, I will say. You have been defeated. Look at her face. She's like, what? But I was pressing
into
the
a giant golem
right into the big golem, yeah. Like, it seems like the nature of whatever you decide, what pathway you use, will, like, it'll hurt your HP or do things like that. Like, it simulates a fight, so you have to pick the least resistant fight as you can, and then make your upgrades to
do you remember,
deal with different
stuff.
I
mean, there were like those shields and stuff, so you can probably pick up those for more defense.
You can go verify this, by the way.
Potions, there was gold.
Myself, I'm pretty sure Rags, I'm not 100% sure, but Fringy and Metal definitely. When we played those arcade games in Outlaws, we were like, this is a better game than Outlaws.
Yes.
And you might be like, that's absurd. And it's like, it's not. It's actually not absurd. The scale of the game functions well, and it has rules, and it requires your input and skill and knowledge to be able to succeed. Like it fucking even if it's simple, Alanah. Like it's so annoying. Like
built an entire fucking section of the video to just shit on people's creative works because they have the audacity to not have lots of money and resources.
And if she can't handle these games that are by her admittance very simple and not at all complex, what makes me think that you can handle a game that is complex, like Star Wars Outlaws?
She didn't remotely give them a fair shot. She went in expecting them to be like
terrible,
shitty, and
garbage. Like she was going to the fucking leper colony. Like, dude,
it's so like you didn't even need to give yourself this weird, I don't know, rule. Like if you want to show what shit games are on Steam, just look for the shit games on Steam.
The best version of what she was saying wouldn't have involved any of this. This was a huge mistake, what she did here.
Yep.
It would instead be, you can have games that qualify as games, maybe, it's kind of a murky area, but a 1 out of 10 is like a game that's barely able to be function, and you start it up and it's like you've completed it in 2 seconds, and it's like a flash of imagery. It's like, that's kind of how I rate a 1 out of 10. She could have said it like that, and then she could have said, so Outlaws is almost like an automatic 5 with how much functionality there is, though there's so much more conversation to be had, but like this was the worst way you could have approached trying to explain this.
And it's, you know what, it's pretty fun. It's not bad. You get the idea. Probably the top 10.
No, not even close.
I have no idea what you're trying. You said that a game is more complex, therefore better because it has more songs in the OST. Woman, I have no idea what the fuck you mean.
It's time for her to explain. I'm sure we're going to understand now.
Okay, here we go.
Looks like that kind of thing. Maybe even more than that. And websites like IGN have to effectively reserve the lower half of their scales for those games because those games exist.
No, they don't.
Do they even review these games?
So thanks for just putting all of these games in the 1 to 5 after being like, oh yeah, this is nice and quaint.
This is pretty fun. 4 out of 10.
You embarrassing fucks are relegated to a maximum of 5 out of 10. That's what you are.
What's happening?
See, I don't know about the first of the game, but the first, however, the second and third ones, they could probably be higher than a 5, I think.
It's so stupid.
I get mad about the fucking preamble thing, but like this is like personally offensive to me. It's so fucking gross to treat people's creative works this way, just because like they don't have much exposure, they don't have many resources. They're just making a thing they think might be neat and throwing it on Steam.
Not enough bodies on the project.
You're a max 5 out of 10, boy. Don't even try.
Right, we were gonna
go fuck yourself.
Well, look at
Put you down
Balatro.
in 4, but there's just way too many games in 4. So luckily, you get bumped up to a 5.
Dude, imagine she stumbled across Balatro because she, like, on the day of release, didn't realize or anything. She just picks it up, plays it, and she's like, see, it's kind of, the graphics are not very good. Yeah,
I just imagine her with, like, many of, like, the great indie games that way. Like, she picks up Slay the Spire and is like, oh, I guess you click on cards, and then you throw them
Super
around,
Meat
blah,
Boy.
blah, blah. Fucking Rain World. Like, just any of these things. Just
Dude, if it was Super Meat Boy, she would have been like,
reminds me of the little paper things in real life.
It's like the
Rewritten
Mario,
off.
but, you know, not good. Oh well. Anyway, moving on. Like, so dismissive and removing all context from a viewer so that we, like, I guess we didn't say it, but, like, part of why that's a good move for her is because we can be more confused and be like, wow, that game looked weird. I don't know what was going on there.
I 100% believe that at least one of those games had some explanatory, like, preamble that was cut.
Probably, yeah.
They just very rarely review them because most people don't know what they are. Like if people aren't searching,
People don't review them because people don't know what they are.
If you're rarely reviewing them, then what's the point of reserving a huge amount of your scale for stuff that essentially it's barely ever covered?
For the mysterious dark universe of bad games out there that we don't talk about.
We don't talk about them. That's why we have a space for them. What?
Jeez.
Oh, God. But also to say that we don't talk about them because people don't know about them. That's not a good reason to not talk about a game, unless you're obviously doing it solely for engagement, but I guess she's already admitted that.
searching for them. People aren't really trying to figure out if they need to buy them or not, so you don't really need to write a review for them.
Well, no, because I mean, the system ordains that they're not worthwhile, right?
She's already made that clear.
Hold on, there's actually a half decent point here, right? Because if you want to know it. Yeah, I think so. If you want to know if Star Wars Outlaws is worthy of spending $70, well, you should probably read a review. But a $2 game, you can just buy it, just $2, right? So probably like really cheap games, you don't really need to review them as often, I think.
What about time saving and just the fact, literally, all the examples we just brought up? Like, are you supposed to go buy a shit ton of indie games and test them all out, or would you rely on a site that you think is trustworthy to say, "Hey, we do this professionally. You should check out Balatro." And you're like, oh, okay.
Where's the simple interest in the analysis of art? Why wouldn't that just be enough? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, we cover video games, and this is a video game, so let's cover it.
Even if we want to say $2 is just $2, it's like, well, what about when you times that by 100 because of your daily just searching for video games, and then all the time it takes? I don't know. Like,
listen. All right, I agree with all this. I'm just doing my best to try to throw her a bone here. Okay.
Only throw valid bones. Don't just throw bones.
So why does this person get charitability after how she treated those 3 fucking games? Like,
well,
hello. Oh, I thought my internet just died.
Well,
perfectly silent.
That was directed at Dev, right? I think.
Jesus, sorry. I mean, I guess she doesn't.
All right then.
But in case one goes viral, like the day before, for example, very bad basic video game, they still need to have that bottom half of the scale there.
I'd love to know how you've determined it's a bad game that doesn't apply to Outlaws. I'd love to know. Because Outlaws kind of remarkably fails in almost everything it does in some significant substantive way. I'd be real interested
for those games. And when you
consider, no, it was published by Ubisoft, which means it is automatically at least a 5 or above.
Which has a distinct cringe to it, doesn't it?
Electronic Arts, Activision, If it's published by any of the, or Sony or Microsoft, if it's published by any of these companies, it won't go below. How often has there ever been a game that was released by one of these major publishers that IGN gave less than a 5?
Well, that's why I would say
I'm seriously struggling to think of one.
That's why I'd say this is accidentally insightful, because she is trying to give us like what she would consider to be substantive or reasonable reasons for why this is happening. But what we're learning is we can't give those companies lower scores than X because they are, of course, too good to make such trash. They would never. And it's like, that's interesting. That feels a little about that incestuous stuff we were talking about before.
So there's like an inverted part of that argument too, where any indie game that doesn't blow up like Undertale or Stardew Valley or something, they always get 5 or below, even if they're good indie games.
Yeah, well, that's what we're bringing up. She said they were capped out at fucking 5. That's their space. That's where they belong, which is so fucked up.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've seen this video before. I did a video on IGN maybe a year ago, looking at the games that they review under a 6. There aren't many, right, that are from big developers. You've got like Cyberpunk on the PS4. That one was like a 4 out of 10. And I would argue should have been much lower. It didn't function. I think functionality is a part. But even that reveals, right, that it's a major release and it is non-functional and it's still a 4 out of 10 because it didn't work on the PS4 when it came. It did not function, did not turn on, and was still a 4 out of 10.
I guess a weird thing about that is that, like, theoretically, assuming this is the case, those technical issues would eventually get fixed, right?
But
right?
that's are you doing a review?
No. What I mean is, like, does the score then get updated?
No. Score does not update. They do not update scores.
Okay, so the score is no longer reflective of the product that is currently for sale. Like,
correct.
I mean that in terms of it being like useless for the vast majority of its lifespan.
Useless for every game, right? Like any game that ever gets an update, the score is useless. And part of
I wouldn't say that's necessarily useless. Like, it depends on how transformative of the game the update is, right?
So any game that gets a substantive update, I'll add that word there since that was clearly a point for you there. The issue is that when you are producing something that is going into Metacritic, Metacritic's not going to update it. And they don't care about anything beyond that, right? They're looking for your day one clicks. They're looking for Metacritic. Mm-hmm. And after that, IGN just doesn't give a fuck, right? They're only going to care about everything. She brought up the day before game, right? Like they did that review after the game was pulled. They did the review after the game was no longer for sale. You could not buy this game. They put out a review for it. So they only care about stuff that's on the day one. And it seems very clear to me that when they're doing these things, it is incredibly mercenary and has no regard for consumers beyond just the day one thing. So when a game gets an update, no, it's never going to get a new score. When
a game gets... I don't disagree, but I'm saying, like, I guess in an idealized world, like, I would like it if going forward we have, like, I put no stock in these sites myself whatsoever. I think they're all completely worthless to me as a consumer. Yes. But theoretically, in a world where they were to be useful, it would be nice if, we could have a score that is reflective of the product that exists. Yeah?
Yeah, but it just won't happen, right? And like,
okay,
of course it would be nice if it could. I don't know how you could do it, right? Like, I'm not in any way defending it.
Update the review when an update comes out. That's how you could do it.
I mean, Steam has a better shot at this than most things with the 2 scores, right?
Steam is much better. Steam is a great way of doing it. IGN is trash, and they're never going to fix that because they don't care. They're incentivized.
Oh, yeah, but that is actually the starting point for this video. We think it's trash, makes no sense, fuck this. And this video is like, wait, I can explain. And what she's done so far is only explain how trash it is.
Yes. Yeah.
How many games are like that? It starts to make a little more sense why you keep seeing AAA games on the other half of the scale. Like, that's the breadth of the scale that is being considered. AAA games are inherently a lot more complex than majority of the
not
games
inherently.
No.
Okay, I wanted to test this.
Someone's never heard of Dwarf Fortress.
Even if that was true,
Factorio.
Because the thing is that if you look at something like Star Wars Outlaws, in terms of its coding, it's probably a hell of a lot more complex than like any game on PlayStation 2. But as has been mentioned previously, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas has more gameplay complexity and interactivity than that game. And even if we agreed that it had greater complexity, what does that mean? Why would that be better necessarily? Why does that necessarily mean?
Honestly,
well, you're at least a 6 or above.
I think she's using complexity because she doesn't want to have to admit a more complicated and like a thing that'll get her in more trouble. A word like saying it's just better. It has more things.
Well, yeah, but how do we now score away the games that came out historically, in the past that are considered to be great, that are just categorically less complex?
We keep referencing Tetris because it's a banger example.
Tetris is a perfect example. Tetris is like actually about as close as you can probably get to the perfect game.
Yeah, and it kills her whole argument. It's a very simple game. It's very quick to learn.
Very straightforward. Yeah, straightforward, simple rules. Obviously, it has a great deal of replay value and potentially added complexity, especially if you got multiplayer and stuff like that. But the core is really simple. And that would mean that, hey, well, it's not as good as Star Wars Outlaws has greater complexity, so therefore,
yeah, I think
we have to rate it better than that.
I need to know where she puts Tetris on the scale. Where is it? Tell me.
And if it's anywhere below a 9 or a 10...
Well, I'm afraid, by her rules, it should probably be 5 out of 10. It's the top tier of the D&D sector.
It is the best of the...
Top tier is garbage.
I decided...
It's a good
I decided to kind of test some of the things that she said, right? So I looked up... So we all know that Star Wars Outlaws got 7 out of 10 from IGN. Concord got 7 out of 10 from IGN. Suicide Squad got 5 out of 10 from IGN.
Oh, wow.
And Redfall got 4 out of 10.
Wow, so that's like the only recent one from a major publisher then, isn't it?
Yeah, and even then, like 4 out of 10 I think is too high for Redfall. Like Redfall was a fucking disaster.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being
so she's sitting here saying like, well, we have to reserve this end of the scale for, the big wigs. It's like, well, I guess that's what you've done then, because look at these scores for these games.
By the way, Tetris got a 9 from IGN.
A 9. Why not a 10?
Why not a 10 indeed?
Why not a 10?
Tetris isn't magnificent. Or masterpiece.
Oh, okay. It is it's absolute by any normal, reasonable standard, Tetris is a masterpiece.
That's the sort of the thing with
Almost.
Tetris.
Maybe
You have to justify where it loses points.
Maybe one.
Yeah, exactly.
9 out of 10,
What's
too many
wrong
blocks.
with Tetris? What is wrong with Tetris? Please.
It seems like it is pretty immaculately successful at everything it's trying to do. So
only one song.
Well, and then, of course, the next example people will give is either Pong or chess. It's like, tell me, what's wrong with Pong and chess? Go on.
What is wrong with chess? Yes, what are the flaws of chess?
White side advantage, maybe? I don't know.
Broken fucking balancing. The queen is insane.
Needs a patch.
Someone in the chat asked, what about Dustborn? IGN gave Dustborn 7 out of 10, guys.
Of course. Why?
Obviously.
Than majority of the games that come out every day, so they are far, far, far more deserving of the top 5 part of that scale. The scale is not just AAA. Does that make sense?
Outlaws deserves that spot, while those fucking games I looked at earlier were trash.
Yeah, it feels particularly awkward because it feels like the thing that looms over this whole video is Outlaws is so dysfunctional.
Yes.
It's not a functional game. It's like broken to the core, not just because it's buggy. A lot of its inherent like ideas and sort of like conceits as a game are unpolished, unrefined, incomplete, or just like silly.
It was discussed about 3 or 4 hours ago, right? It's crazy and bizarre that they oversighted on the moving the body thing. It's like, no, that's not a feature. It's just not in the game. They didn't put it in the game. It's not there. Doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. Like the point being, of course, even if the game were fixed, it's crap.
It would still be, even if it didn't have any bugs, it's screwed. It's kind of the thing. You can't patch a lot of these problems. What, you're going to patch it in so that you can drive every vehicle? You can drive multiple vehicles, or that you can permanently acquire different weapons? Probably not. That's probably too difficult to implement in a patch.
Well, the thing is, I could argue to her to hell and back that the game is incredibly simple, not complex, not at all.
Yes, exactly. Well, as has been pointed out, San Andreas has greater amount of interactivity with the world than Outlaws.
As was mentioned,
if anything, the
like
bugs and glitches make it more complex.
Something like a Dwarf Fortress, which she would have dismissed immediately if she'd come across in that selection of 3, is infinitely more complex than...
Super Mario 64 has greater levels of interactivity, like in terms of just general emergent gameplay.
The IGN God Hand review starting to make a lot more sense.
What they give it?
Give it what, like a 3?
Give it like what did 3?
Damn, yeah, I think that was like really low.
Am I crazy? They gave God Hand a really terrible review. It was a big meme on the internet for a long time.
It's an infamous review of IGN. Yeah,
God Hand is worse than Redfall.
They gave it a 3 out of 10.
Fucking hell.
God Hand is not a 3.
They gave it a 3 out of 10.
But you know what this game is? It's kind of hard. It's a bit challenging, that one.
My little handies hurt after I mashed too many buttons.
The demon punched me in my face. Ouchie.
Am I articulating this? I remember when Diablo 4
You should be able to. You're a writer.
She's a lot more than a writer, Free. Like, the amount of experience that she listed and to have produced this crap, like, it's insane.
Well, especially when you've got unique insight into the behind-the-scenes process, right? Of, like, at a place like IGN. And I feel like all that's been done is unwittingly revealed how crap of a system they have.
Yeah. By part of that scale. The scale is not just AAA. Does that make sense? Am I articulating this? I remember when Diablo 4 got massively review bombed by the user ratings, maybe a month or so after it came out, which was deserved. They made some disappointing changes, but people were giving it like a 2 out of 10 and calling games journalists shills because they weren't giving it 2 out of 10. But when you see the games that I just showed you, and then you compare it to...
Wow,
they were
she's
not
still shitting on them.
Like, why is the scale...
Who do you, dude?
Why is the 1 to 10 scale based off of any other game? If there was only one video game in existence, you should be able to put it on a 1 to 10 scale.
Like, actually go fuck yourself. What did they do to you?
Out of curiosity, I wonder if people's annoyance is not specifically that reviewers didn't give Diablo 4 a 2, but that their average score is like 86, 87, 88.
Yeah.
Like, probably. I don't know anything about what the conversation would have been around that game, but I'm curious if it's being painted in the most negative light possible. If you are wrong, if you gave it a 3 even or something, or if it's simply that in this case, that the critical review seems to be massively different from that of how players felt about the game.
Do you remember once upon a time in this wonderful video where we said any review of any kind, of any substance from everybody is valid and it's all subjective?
That's
however,
right. So why would they do
all the same.
However, you are not allowed to rate Diablo 4 a fucking 2. If you do that, you are wrong.
Well, you know, something's been awkward though. We're talking about, well, video game journalists have probably played more games. It's like, maybe, but I'm sure the people who reviewed Diablo 4 negatively probably have got a lot more time in Diablo 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then
to repeat the rant that we have once per like 5 EFAPs, I am once again so bothered by the fact that these people will always be like, there's no such thing as objectivity, and then they just fucking say, you cannot have that opinion. You cannot do that. Like, okay.
Is that they casually throw out these perspectives where they're talking about stuff that actually is subjective for sure.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's often like, oh, well, you're not allowed to have that. And it's like, what are you talking about? That is actually just you're describing somebody's personal feeling about something or something that you cannot prove. Like, it's not something that can be falsified, and they'll just throw it out casually.
The fact that she has said, like, you know, these games, these high-budget AAA, quadruple A games, like, they obviously cannot go below a 5. Like, just that's just the truth. Anyone doing that is wrong.
Toxic gamers.
Something like Diablo 4, which has complex systems.
Stop saying complex, you coward. Coward. She wants to say they're just better. They're just fucking better.
This game I have, it's very buggy. It doesn't work. It crashes all the time. But look at all the complex things I coded in here. See, that's a 6 out of 10 at least.
You almost want to say to her, "What's the most complex game in existence?" And let's just say she names something. You go, "Okay, what if it never boots?"
No.
What's the rating then?
What if every hour it kicks you? Like, it spawns a little boot out of a PlayStation and then it kicks you.
It kicks in the shin. It's like, hey.
Yeah, in the shin, a really, like, annoying spot.
This is going to sound a little bit weird, but maybe she almost thinks, like, the number of people who have worked on a game and for how long, like the number of manpower hours that have been expended to create the game, that's what makes it have a higher score.
I think
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd be a little bit more cynical. It's like, you don't want to burn any bridges, huh? Like,
there's that. There's absolutely that.
I mean, where this goes to me.
You can also go more lizard brain. Just you play something like Outlaws, you're like, wow, this is a big Chungus game. I love this. Look, that looks like real life, and oh, there's voices and music. Woohoo! Oh, I'm in space. Woo! Da 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 da. Now let me boot up this fucking dungeon. Look at these graphics. Oh, press down.
Arrow keys.
Yeah, maybe.
I seriously think it all comes down to the lizard brain perspective of obviously Outlaws is better than that shitty 2D thing.
That is kind of what I'm getting at, because I have seen other people say things like, 1,000 people worked on this game. Why can't you appreciate it? It's like, well, it's still a bad game though.
Well,
why can't they appreciate my money and time?
Yeah, why exactly?
I'm sorry
that
appreciated
my time and
effort went towards such a garbage product. I'm sorry they had to work on it.
A lot of people made the Third Reich, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, what do you want me to say?
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Enemies and classes
like 7 out of 10.
Progression and music and sound design and art. You can see why it doesn't.
It's more complex. Is that what you want to tell me, or do you want to just? This is what I mean. Just admit it. You just want to say, "Ah, it's just better." It's just better.
I sure do love defining terms. When you say complex, what do you mean?
I told you she's being a coward. She's not going to go further than that because it would get her in trouble if she started saying Outlaws. AAA games are inherently better than indie games. They just are. Imagine she fucking said that.
Yeah, that would be silly.
She wants to say it.
I think she thinks that.
She wants to say it, but she can't.
She might think that. Yeah.
I would even argue she would say it to friends, and then if they were like, "Whoa," she'd be like, "No, we all know this. We all know the amount of people working on it. The shit. If you have 100 people working on a game and one guy, obviously the 100 people game is going to be better."
I guess obviously. I'd be curious. Is like, I would almost want to know. It's like, would you be comfortable just saying the game kind of is shit? Like, let's say you didn't even believe it. Would you feel like you could say that and that wouldn't cause you problems, like in terms of connections or any sort of stuff in the industry?
So funny as well as
you can't, and maybe don't talk about this.
If you remember the part 2 where she was like, as someone who's like aware of these games, and you probably are, you probably play your little AAAs, so you probably don't know. And then I'm sure everyone here is like, God, I've poured more hours into some indie games than I ever have into like quadruple. It's so funny to be talked to like this, like. Don't you know indie games are not capable of much? Like those poor little guys, they're struggling to get over the fucking finish line of being even noticed. But Ubisoft game, whoa,
so complex, dude.
Oof. That's an Auto 7. Yes.
But are they fun though? Are the indie games fun?
Shut up, 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
The idea of like challenging any AAA studio to like try and replicate something successful out of the indie sphere is so amusing to me. The absolute bumbling slop mess that would come out at the end if you told, hey Ubisoft, try and make Slay the Spire.
I think that it is somewhat intuitive for a lot of people to believe this line, like that many people and that much money, it's gonna be baseline better. But when you start like dig deeper into it, Alanah, you must have some of this insight. The amount of mistakes that can be made along the way, this reflects on films as well, right? Like they can pour so much money into a thing that doesn't fucking work, and then it gets scrapped. And then just like, whoops, like a game can get restarted in its development several years into it. We've had bazillions of examples of that. So it's just like, why do we treat this like it's not possible? Look at Duke Nukem Forever. Remember that shit?
Oh, God.
Well, but the thing is, I don't need to refer to any particular examples. Outlaws is the example. It is a super high budget game that had bazillions of people working on it, and it's awful. Absolutely trash.
You can do the exact opposite, too, with Stardew Valley, which is a game from a single producer. One guy in his basement, in his girlfriend's basement, made that game over 7 years. And it's one of the biggest selling games of all time. Most people consider it a 10.
Why would we even need to entertain the conversation? How many indie games could you just list off the top of your head? You know, like Shovel Knight.
You could point to
Super Meat Boy,
just with
Papers, Please, Katana Zero, like Stardew Valley. It's like
Undertale.
What is to be exactly?
Hollow
Like,
Knight was made by 3 guys.
Tetris.
Exactly. Well, Tetris was made by one guy. Yeah, Tetris was made by one fella. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know why we.
The Tales was mostly a one.
Tunic, Disco Elysium. The list just goes on for fucking ever, man. Of all the good indie games,
ones that she could easily have stumbled across at any moment in that selection.
Say the majority of the best games of all time are
hold on.
games.
She even said that Tunic was a 10 out of 10.
She did
earlier in the fucking.
She did.
Yeah.
That doesn't get. Maybe once it becomes popular enough, it's no longer registered in your head that way.
Once it's safe. I think so.
It's
once
again
it's
like
on
the
IGN reviews because it gets sufficient popularity. Then at that point, it transcends being an indie game to become a real video game.
It's welcomed into the club. It's again
the disgusting like poverty safari thing. Yeah, like it's got a sufficiently high production value for me to like give a remote shit about it whatsoever.
The aristocrats of the gaming industry have ordained that you can ascend from plebhood.
Yeah, she like arrives in a limo. She walks out. She gives a top hat and a cane to this homeless person. She's like, "Welcome to the club, buddy. You're in."
Yes. The authorities, the just some fucking guys. Sorry.
Yeah, the
they
guys.
have ordained that you are now that get to be part of the cool kids club.
Doesn't really exist in the same realm as a lot of the 2s that come out every day. It was functional, and it had this cool feature where you could actually play it for more than 5 minutes without being extremely bored.
Unlike those 3 games that you didn't understand how they worked at all.
That's subjective as fuck. What if I boot up Diablo 4 and I'm like, wow, this is boring? Am I wrong?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. IGN said so.
Well, so
all right. Well,
on that note, there are plenty of AAA quadruple games. Look at Civilization, for example, the newest ones. If you put my mum on that, she's not gonna fucking get it. She's gonna be like, I don't really like this. 2 out of 10. We're like, no, you can't give that a 2 out of 10. You're wrong.
Basically, Steam is full of a lot of things that like barely count as video games for what the general.
So why don't you show us those instead of referring to them that way when you gave us 3 examples that are absolutely games?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I mean. Like, could you at least? You should have just said, you know what, my plan here to play the latest 3 failed. It really did. I picked 3 that are actually like games. I need to go find you examples of shit that's terrible.
You're a YouTuber. Just edit it out.
Yeah, you could just not put it in your video.
Who has time?
This is part of the thing. Like the rambling. I'm a writer. Rambling for 9 fucking minutes about absolutely nothing. Like you could have written down a script for this, or at least maybe some fucking bullet points, and gotten through it. And instead, I'm 13 minutes into a 22-minute video, and you've said nothing.
Or have you said too much?
So
okay,
Ariana. So, I don't know if you guys. I downloaded the second game she talked about, Zool Dungeon. It's not polished by any means, but it's fun for $3. A lot of fun.
Oh, you actually got it.
Wait,
yeah,
you been playing this whole time?
No, not me. The super chatter. I just amused by the fact that. Like,
okay. I thought you literally went and bought it.
Yeah,
no.
I think both of the games she'd mentioned were they both came out September 11th of this year, and they're like $3. They're super cheap, little indie games.
Well, even the Cat Claw one. The problem with that, because that's the one that looked to be possibly the most like ready to be criticized. But she even said in the video, "It's like I don't know if there's more to this or what I'm supposed to do." Then just quit. It's like that's not really fair, is it? You're gonna need to make sure you know what you're talking about.
That you know, it's
too late, trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also a scripted video. You edited this, or someone edited this together, and should have been like, you know, this didn't work. You probably want to do something else, or
yeah, these
I don't
are
know.
The highlights, man.
It would not have been hard for her to just go and find free asset flips or like games that won't boot up, and like it's easy.
Do you see though that?
By the way,
she failed miserably, but even if
this, by the way,
she did, yes. But even if she selected 3 games and none of them booted, or one of them did, and it flickered graphics and then died, and then she said, "So you see, Outlaws isn't as shit as you thought." I'd be like, "No, what are you talking about?" This is seriously like the best version of what she was trying to do doesn't prove her point, but instead it backfired, and she ended up possibly providing some fun experiences for people in chat.
If you're trying to explain to me what the score of Outlaw should be, and you mention any other game that isn't Star Wars Outlaws, I don't give a shit.
Yep,
that's not a good way to do it.
Her logic just seems to basically be like, appreciate the fact you have cancer because it's not AIDS. It's like, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Public understands a video game to be, and most of them aren't even really worth reviewing. But the scale has to still exist for them, and it's
like, say that,
I get why
true. They're not worth reviewing.
Roll it back.
How do you know that without a review?
actually play it for more than 5 minutes without being extremely bored. Basically, Steam is full of a lot of things that like barely count as video games or what the general public understands a video game to be, and most of them aren't even really worth reviewing. But the scale has to...
Okay, so if I present to you just a poop, and then I say this is my video game, does that change the scale for everything again? Because now I've created a new floor.
Does that have to happen?
How many bowel digital bowel movements do you have to have before Outlaws becomes an 8?
Yeah,
no, not digital, actual. Like you go to GameStop and then you buy Mahler's game, and it's just like a bucket with poop in it, and the guy just hands it over. It's like, here's my game.
I was
7 out of 10.
Like in a box, you know, it's got like proper box art and everything, but you open it up, it's just poop. In the little tray.
Poop
to still exist for them. And it's like, I get why if you've only played AAA games, or you only played really, really popular games that do rise above the schlock of majority of the stuff that comes out, that you would have a skewed perception of...
See, you must have a skewed perception. You don't know about the indie circuit. You don't know.
I know. It's
cringe.
I'm almost impressed by the condescension, though.
No.
It's tinged with a lot more of a positive tonality.
It's what we talk about all the time, yeah. If she said this angrily, people would see it for what it is.
Yeah, because in this case, it's like, you know, and if you haven't played that many games, actually, like, if, you know, not like, if you haven't played any of these games and you played all these AAA games, then yeah, you would think that that Star Wars Outlaws should be lower than a 7. It's very, yeah, the tonality is really on point.
So what you said, is she seriously intimating that the public can't determine what is good quality? Yes.
Yes.
In a sense, yeah, which is funny considering the observation that it's just some fucking guy's opinion on a review. But now you're saying, well, yeah, but you're
now
more
they don't know
with video games than the average person. They don't know any better. So yeah, this is what I mean. In a sense, I'm almost impressed by the. It's not particularly well constructed, but the tonality very much is softening the condescension.
What the scale looks like. Your scale is probably different to the scale of some other fucking guy based on just what you've played, where reviewers often have played a lot of stuff.
Memes.
Yeah, but
so
did you see it? Did you see? But you don't. It's a sneaky.
But we have the 1 through 10.
Yeah,
she did a sneaky. Look, she says that just some fucking guy as like a. We're all having opinions, but right after it, she then makes clear what would make our opinions lesser.
To the scale of some other fucking guy based on just what you've played, where reviewers often have played a lot of stuff.
See? This little like just some fucking guy, it's like a shield to protect her from people being like, what the fuck, you just said that I don't have as much experience as like IGN reviewers.
Very impressive.
Lame. Just stop being so cowardly. Just admit what your position is, which is, I know better than you guys. These games are 7 out of 10s. Okay? Outlaws is at the very lowest of 5. And those shit games I showed you barely ever, there's an exception here or there, but barely ever scratch above like a 1. They're all pathetic. Just say that.
That falls on the lower half of that scale and is the reason the lower half of that scale exists. I think you could pretty easily make a case that they should just not touch those lower half games at all, and that you could like have a scale just for AAA games and they could be 2 separate things. But I think that would also be pretty complicated.
I mean, technically, she's already explained to us now that it caps at 5 to 10, meaning that we should treat IGN's 5 to 10 as 1 to 10.
I have such a fucking problem with her. We should separate out, you know, and have just a scale that's just for the AAA. We do have a scale that's just for the AAA games. It's the 1 through fucking 10 scale.
Well, but remember, Tunic, that's too good to be on.
The concept that every game she doesn't like is under, it's not big enough, it's not important enough, it's under a 5 automatically is just insane. Jesus Christ. I hate watching these shit.
Listen, if it was good, it would be popular. You know,
you need to reconnect it back, okay? So when she says Outlaws is going to be better than the vast majority of them because they don't scratch above it, blah, blah, blah. Then you go, which is better, Tunic or Outlaws? She's going to be like, well, wait, hang on. Yes, Tunic is better, but well, hang on. It's like, I like the idea that she just has fucking smoke starts coming out of her ears. It's just like,
blue screens like Outlaws.
Complicated to explain to audiences in a lot of cases, where I feel like it's probably easier to explain, no, a 0 or a 1 or a 2 is for games that don't function.
Like Outlaws?
How can a game that doesn't function be a 2?
A non-functional game gets a 2 somehow.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a.
Has 2 songs.
Honestly, Rags, I think it's because she said in her head that one of those numbers belongs to non-functional, and she's like, "Fuck, that's really not good enough, is it?" Because that would work on the scale, allowing Outlaws to be like a 3. You could still have 1 be non-functional. So she's like, "No, it's got a 0, 1, and 2, maybe even 3." Like it goes all the way up. It blocks out so many numbers. You see, that's why AAA have got to be up in the higher numbers.
Okay, man. Okay, let's say you have 2 non-functional games, right? And one of them's a 0 and one of them's a 2. Why?
I don't know.
Well, one of them's more complex than the other.
It was like the crash different? Like it was a nicer looking crash screen or something? Like
yeah,
what the fuck?
see, the 0 had a crash because of only 1 line of code. The 2 had a crash because of 18 lines of code. There you go.
Okay.
So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are all non-functional. So AAA has to be 6 at least. Like, just go to the first stop.
Concord is not functional.
7 out of 10.
Making changes that negatively impact the game didn't make it completely non-functional, or didn't make it so that the only thing you could do was like play a claw machine. You know what I mean? But
ooh, get fucked, claw machine dev.
Sucker.
But yeah, you could certainly argue for that if you wanted to. Go ahead. I'm just explaining why it currently exists the way that it does. And to be clear,
you've done an awful job, like catastrophically.
This makes me hate.
I wonder if
journalists even more. And my opinion was already really low.
I can picture her like at a theme park, right? She puts $1 into a claw machine, fails to get the stuffed animal, and just like 2 out of 10.
This game doesn't fucking work.
Not even functional.
I wonder if she got like a call from IGN people and it's like, "This is what you thought what the scale was the whole time? What the fuck?"
I mean, if I was
to agree at all,
if I was to explain to someone quickly what point she's broadly made here, I'd be like 1 through 5 relates to indie, 6 to 10 relates to AAA. That's basically what she said.
Yes.
AAA and also really important indie.
Yeah, other than when an indie game is so good, everyone talks about it. That's when it gets to be elevated into the AAA scale.
I'm not trying to defend IGN in making this video in any capacity. Even when I worked there, they had game reviews come out that I staunchly disagreed with. When I worked there, they had
brave?
The Doom 2016 review, which was written by a freelancer who gave it was like an insane low score. Yeah, it was a 7.1.
That's his opinion, okay? You said it's allowed.
His opinion is no more.
He's just some fucking guy.
He's just a fucking guy.
Just a freelancer.
Just got to make sure that's said. It was written by a freelancer.
Not even a real journalist. Just a freelancer.
What are those fake ones?
Yeah.
Doesn't have the experience that we do, right?
I'm just more hung up on the insanely low score of 7 point something. It's like that's pretty good. It's like, I don't know. So
that's a pretty
on
good
my
game.
Scale, that sounds pretty good.
Higher than that, but that's a pretty good game.
Insane.
Yeah, that's a
Would
good
I give
game.
Doom higher than that? Maybe.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing. We don't do things the same way they do it over in Crazy Town.
For Doom 2016, and I remember like everyone in the office being like, "Not fucking agree with that at all." But
is he wrong? Go as far as saying it. Do it.
Wrong. It's just some guy's opinion.
Yeah, it was just him, none of us. It was just him.
Yeah, we
just
didn't fuck that up. It was him.
Why are you questioning
from
him?
Gilroy,
he just showed
who
up
did not
into
even
our
work
studio and
in the
solo
IGN
wrote the whole thing.
office. A total freelancer. I don't think he even.
Why are you what do you think this means?
Not professional. That's what she thinks it means.
He's on the outside. Doesn't count.
Right now,
man, the amount of like. This might be one of the best videos ever for how insulting and rude this video is, but the tone is just fine, so you'll never know, and no one will know.
Also, by the way, that just makes the IGN people look even worse, because if like no one agreed with that score, and they were all like, well, he wrote it now, he just fucking put it out.
Why did they give a release like Doom 2016 to a freelancer?
I don't know. You feel like you want your best people on the highest.
I would have thought they'd want their people on
games.
a release like that, but okay.
Or the most relevant games, rather, yeah.
With that at all, but it was from Joe Gilroy, who did not even work in the IGN office, a total freelancer.
Name dropped him.
He even wrote for IGN very often, like maybe 1 or 2 times.
What does that have to do with anything?
Why are we bringing this random guy up to put him under the wheels of that bus right now?
You know what's weird? Friggy, she put him under the bus, and then she was like, "Whoops, forgot to give him a name."
Yeah.
What? Why?
What are we doing here?
I guess I gave you some clues as to who he was, but I'll make it easier for you, just so you know.
sure. But like they've certainly had review scores that I fundamentally disagreed with.
Okay.
And that's just sort of the reality of reviews being just written by some fucking
I want to
guy.
lie down
But
so
yes,
bad.
this is essentially why you might
mind.
feel like you see so many review scores that are above a 5, or you feel like the lower half of the scale is being underutilized. It's why 7s feel like it might be average, and why I've heard people like call to change the 7 to a 5. But it's just when you factor in games that you probably haven't played or probably haven't heard of.
You probably haven't played and heard of these games that don't work, and then showcases a bunch of games that do work. Is so cringe.
The bottom of the scale gets very, very, very full very fast, and your AAA games start to look a whole lot better in comparison. And finally, I know that this isn't going to sway anybody who like already feels some way about this, but
if you mean we think IGN is a joke, you're correct. This has not swayed us in any fucking way at all.
I think you're more of a. I think you're a malicious joke now. Like,
yeah, this doesn't help anything.
Establisher. No publisher is giving an IGN reviewer a bunch of money to influence.
Obviously,
that's not the criticism.
That's not how it works. Nobody thinks it works like that. That's not what we mean.
Word of advice for anyone who out there needs to defend themselves from claims of being a shill: never address the argument. They dropped a sack of money on my desk and said, "You best review that game positively, bitch, or I'll kill your family and you won't get this sack of money." That's not the criticism. It's always about influence and access, and you're too scared.
You get access. You're all friends. You get invited to events. You get put up in hotels. Who runs the ads? What kind of ads are getting run on like IGN or any of these websites? Are they from publishers? Sometimes they are. Yeah. It's all of that. It's not the idea that somebody's literally saying, "Here's a bag of money. Give it a 9 out of 10." Obviously.
Yeah, and I'm not ruling out, you don't need to address it, but I'm not ruling out the idea that they go, "Oops, drop my sack of money on the table."
Oh, oopsie.
I mean, we've seen that happen.
Oops.
We've seen it happen. And on top of that, we have seen them, directly blacklist companies like Kotaku, right? So, like, this does have an effect. They will stop giving you games if you review them badly. It's been proven. This is not questionable. It's not like us out here speculating as conspiracy theorists. They will stop giving games to these journalists.
As an individual outlet, you need their publishers more than they need any individual website.
Yes, it happens. Right, and I see people in the chat being like, Kotaku needs... I fucking hate Kotaku, but it is concerning when a journalist is being blacklisted at all. Because it shows that this shit is happening.
Giving an IGN reviewer a bunch of money to influence a review score. There are ways that companies try to manipulate positive review scores.
I mean, here's another one, right? Like, oh, well, I work at a, games press, but like, I want to keep my options open in terms of, future career prospects as well, right? Like,
yeah, slide on over onto that side of the equation, maybe.
It really doesn't seem like it should be the case that somebody who was working as a reviewer at IGN should be able to be working there have just been cases where people who worked at IGN end up working like in PR or working at studios, and it just seems like, well, wait, if you're like doing your review accurately, there are going to be some games that probably should be getting shit on a bit. But like to the point that they might not even, want to be working with you anymore. And it's like I just the overlap is kind of like bizarre in a sense. It should be more of like that's odd. It's odd that the side that is ultimately meant to be representative of the interests of the player base, consumers, whatnot, that would actually be the case, and they'd be able to like comfortably sort of then align with the companies that are seeking to make money off of that player base. Whether it's through, good games or bad business practices or whatever.
Scores in ways that I think are extremely egregious and actually far worse than I think the general public realizes. Like, this stuff is huge. I'm going to make a whole separate video about this. I was going to put it in this video, but then it's like too many topics in one video. It's a lot. I will make a separate video about basically like publishers, companies trying to influence people to get positive reviews and the manipulative tactics that are used for that. There is so much to say and so much to unpack. But we're just...
That is what people are talking about. You don't need to address they dropped the sack of money on the table. Just don't.
Handing somebody money to give a game a score, which, by the way, as an aside, I've seen people recently suggest that IGN was paid to give Star Wars Outlaws the 7 out of 10. Why would Ubisoft pay for a 7? A 7?
Because
7 isn't suspicious.
You just spent the whole fucking video talking about how, 7 AAA means quality, it's too complex to blah, blah, blah. Like, you spent ages defending how it's an important number that represents quality and a baseline, and then you're like, why would they pay for that when what if the reality was a fucking 2? 7's a way better score than a fucking 2. And then, of course, like, as an aside, like, that's silly that they would do that. But then the main point being they would never drop a whole bunch of money to just require a positive review. It's like, well, yeah, but you just went over all the reasons what they would do it that are non-direct, non-explicit. Because, of course, it's illegal. Like, it's funny, if they actually did that transaction of the drop sack of money on table for positive review, they would never say it in a way that could be captured, but that may very well take place, that they just go like, hey man, I hope you give it the same kind of review approach that you usually do, and the guy winks and says, I know what you mean. See you at Disneyland.
What is the nature of, because IGN does it, and I don't think, does Game Informer exist anymore, or did it get shut down recently?
It's gone.
Yeah, like because IGN has it where it's like, oh, we've got like exclusive access for the month on this game. What do you think the point of that is? Like that's basically ads. Like in terms of or at least in terms of the idea of like what exactly is the publisher looking to get out of a preview where they show the game in a limited capacity, and the extent of the coverage that's provided by a website like IGN is descriptions of things presented in a way that's generally going to be positive for whatever the game is. Of, oh, you can do this, you play as this character, it's about this. Like, those are again, what's the point of even talking about the whole like, oh, here's the big sack of money, give it a 9? That's obviously bullshit.
Remember,
the actual relevant and important one is the soft influence.
7+ is enough to get your average assessment from people to say, well received. It's well received.
Especially if you're the site that controls the little blurb.
Thanks to the fucking avalanche of users saying this is pathetic, horrible, broken mess, you could see even from the articles that we were reading that they were across time. The latest one is like, it's not been well received. Like, not really at all, actually. And it's just funny to say, like, why would anyone want to pay for a 7? It's like, well, it's better than a 6, a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1,
exactly,
and a fucking nil.
You're paying a reviewer, you couldn't just slip them, like, company like Ubisoft with a shit ton of money, just like another 50 grand or whatever the
Also, it'd be fucking suspicious as hell if IGN gave it a 10 out of 10.
Yep, the 7 doesn't arouse suspicion.
Remember how fucking suspicious it was, the 86 for Rotten Tomatoes for Rise of Skywalker? It was like, how the fuck do you give that an 86? And if Alanah said, it's not an 100, they would have given it if they were paid off, they would have given it 100. Like, what are you talking about?
Didn't the score like not change at all as well for like weeks on end?
Stuck on 86, almost as though they were paid to not let it drop below 86.
People love the Rise of Skywalker. Critically acclaimed.
Sure they do.
Yes.
Hyper sus that shit. That's one of those ones where I was just like, I will never believe that was genuine. Not in a million fucking years. Everybody said that movie was awful.
Fuck and be like, just make it a 10. Why would they pay for a 7? But handing somebody money to give...
It would actually be dumb as fuck to pay for a 10. Just thinking about this.
If it's that's super suspicious.
Review score.
Let me just hop in here for a minute, if you don't mind. So I decided to look something up because maybe a minute or two ago, she mentioned the Doom 2016 freelancers. She kept pointing out these freelancers, nobody. The Joab Gilroy, whatever his name is. Yeah. I just kind of dug around a little bit, just doing some Instagram searches and some Twitter searches. She brought him into IGN to be a freelancer. This is not someone that she doesn't know. I don't know why she was playing him up like she doesn't know him, because they're both Australian, and he was hired on because they worked together previously in the Australian games circuit in like 2015. Like, these are people who know each other, and they had some kind of personal falling out in like 2023.
Oh,
interesting.
So that's why the bus happened.
Yeah.
She probably kicked him while he was under
there. Yeah, they apparently both worked like in some small time outlets in like 2015-ish. She got onto IGN, and then she like tried to pull him up, and they remained friends after they both left IGN. And then they had a personal falling out. They don't talk to each other anymore.
Rip.
And the details of that aren't revealed. But yeah, this is not someone like she doesn't know.
No, you wouldn't have gotten that impression at all from what she just said. Well, and it was also very odd. She only referred to him in such a way that could get him flack, and then she made sure to his name. It was like that's just odd. It was weird. You didn't need to do that at all.
Mixed signals here.
Extremely illegal, and these companies have giant legal teams.
Right, it's an illegal thing to do to pay for good reviews. Right, there you go, guys.
A massive
crime is illegal.
Company would never do anything illegal.
Most murderers didn't know that it was a crime. Yeah. Like, I don't even know where to begin with this naive fucking comment. Like, crimes don't happen because they're illegal.
Yeah. You're actually not allowed. We've solved it.
Yeah, it's also not allowed to give people gifts on Amazon when you sell them stuff and say, I'm going to activate that gift card if you give me a 5-star review. They still do it, though.
They don't need to be explicit. We talked forever about the access stuff, but if they were quote-unquote explicit, the way it would be done is not with explicit language. It would be, man, I love donating to you. I really do. It's the best thing ever. And I love reading your reviews, especially this one. They're all like the 9 out of 10s. The more work you produce, the more I'm invested in donating to you to make sure you're supported because I love your career. Just that's already more explicit than they probably would do it if they were to do it. But the kind of shit that can't even get you in trouble legally. Like, if you took that to court, you can't prove that. It's like, I can't believe people still say these things. Like, don't you know it's illegal? Why would they do an illegal?
Who are so hardcore and so intense about this kind of stuff. Their whole job is to prevent the company from getting sued or getting fined. That's
actually a reason in favor of our argument that they have a whole team designed to protect them from getting in any legal trouble.
Yep.
Job with these legal departments. I have worked with some of these legal departments. They are annoyingly hardcore. Stupid legal rules where they try to avoid getting sued for the dumbest shit that you're like, nobody.
Yeah, that's what a dumb thing for a multi-million-dollar company to avoid getting sued. Like,
dumb shit like that, yeah.
People will sue people for anything. Actually. Alanah, it's good that they have these teams to protect themselves, but simultaneously the teams can be used for less cool and less ethical things.
Evil. He's going to sue you for that. And they're like, doesn't matter. Somebody could, so don't do it. Paying somebody to have positive sentiment, even if you disclose it, is illegal. Did you know that? So, like, if I do a sponsored ad here on YouTube,
I get it.
I understand.
Like I said, this is all useless fluff. Like, we already know all of these things. Move on. Address the actual arguments, please.
That I don't believe. They are not allowed to ever say, hey, can you say this sentence? I think I've received pushback on that maybe once where they were like, can you say that? And I was like, I don't feel that way. And they had to be like, okay, they are not allowed.
Well, wait, don't they know that's illegal?
Right. Right, so
they just did crime. Oh my god!
Everybody. How do we account for like the similarities in terms of the ads then? Right, in terms of the structure.
I don't think, honestly, Frank, I don't think we should bother. This is such a stupid
RPGs in 20. Yeah, like remember, everybody said it was one of the most ambitious RPGs. Right?
Well, I think the difference is that the one thing is a review from a press and the other thing is like an explicit ad. What do you mean, right?
No, what she's specifically talking to
right? You said sponsors,
what she's specifically talking to is sentiment, right? So you can't be like, I like thing.
But you can't say that a game is one of the most ambitious.
They totally do, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Ambition is a hard thing to quantify.
I'm just exhausted by like the notion that she's addressed anything here by saying it's crime. They wouldn't do crime.
It's crime.
They wouldn't do crime.
No that's illegal.
They have lawyers on their teams. Lawyers are meant to not do crime by job. So why would crime happen if job was not crime? That's you're stupid.
Allowed to do that. That is very, very, very illegal and taken very, very seriously. So paying for positive sentiment without disclosure is going to get you fined, but even with disclosure, also going to get you fined. Like, extremely illegal, again, taken very seriously. And asking games journalists specifically to lie about review scores, I think, is one of the dumbest things that a company could possibly do. Like, that's going to
Yes, I was here 2 minutes ago when you said that. Can we move on?
She hasn't said anything new forever.
So fast, if it were actually happening. It's an industry full of people who are so poorly paid and are often very bored with the stuff that they're able to write from an industry.
Good. I hope they starve.
Industry that gives them like no information.
I don't even know what the fuck point is this. Like,
I don't know.
Why would they pay for the lowly reviewers'
those poor
scores?
games journalists.
Those poor fuckers.
If anything, she's giving me a reason why someone would accept a bribe. Is what she's doing.
About anything, and is constantly withholding things and just making them like rehash press releases because the games industry is so cagey about information. Frankly, they are desperate a lot of the time to write the article that gets their name out there. Or
Alanah, this is not helping your argument at all.
No.
Just told us why they would accept it.
It's all very illegal, but they're starving. Send us more money.
She even gives a price earlier, just another 50,000.
Just give another 50,000.
Or gets views, or makes people like them. It gives them the prestige of breaking this huge conspiracy news story. Like so many, I would say 90% of people who work in that games media industry would be frothing, chomping at the bit at the opportunity to leak this story. If it were happening, it would have leaked 1,000.
But all the reasons you just gave for that would also reflect being bribed.
So it hasn't happened.
Wait, it has leaked. Kanan
Yeah,
Lynch.
it has happened. We know it's happened.
Yeah, exactly.
It's famously happened. But did you catch that, though? She gave all of the reasons why these people would want to get an article that's very famous or very engaged with, because that would provide them money, which will help the particular situation being not fantastic, which I'm more than inclined to believe, like, the vast majority of the people who work in trying to get this to work, like, they're probably not that well off. But you cannot deny that that would also work as motivation to be bribed.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
How can you lay all this out and then be like they would never be bribed? They're all so full of integrity that all of them would leak this story immediately. That's what would happen. Like, okie dokie.
Times over. And I actually don't doubt that it was happening in the 90s and 2000s before a lot of the more strict regulations came in. Of course, companies are going to try to do it. They just can't anymore.
So somebody tagged me in the Discord about Jeff Gersman, and I think he's actually a pretty good example. Giant Bomb was founded because he was fired from GameSpot for giving a bad review to a game after that developer had paid for a large purchase from the website. So this stuff absolutely happens.
Like this meme.
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
I've always liked this meme whenever people use it. It's great.
It's such a good format.
It is a good format, yeah.
There are times where I'm more than on board with the third place guy celebrating, you know? Like, good on you, buddy. Like, just you if the others
fucking go get him.
Yeah.
He's I mean, this is the Olympics. That's why people at the Olympics, you get a silver or bronze, you're celebrating. You're like second or third in the world. That's insane.
And publishers do have other ways of trying to influence review scores, like I said. I'll have a whole separate video about that. But they are not giving game reviewers money to give games a 10 out of 10. Again, just like think about everything you've ever disagreed with somebody on. Think about the dumbest fucking thing that you've seen on the internet that you disagreed with somebody on. Your toilet paper. You put it over or under. Heated disagreements about that stuff. Over is correct, by the way. Anyone who puts it under, I will literally...
Who's arguing for under?
Does anyone argue for under? I've never heard anyone argue for under.
I've not heard it.
If anything, that's like the example given for things that no one believes in. That's why it's considered universally to be a mistake to do in a bathroom, because nobody prefers it.
Apparently
like
she's
that.
had heated arguments with people about under. All right.
In your house, if I see that you have the toilet paper under, I will change it in your house.
Please,
I don't
want to talk about toilet paper right now. I want to go.
All right, but this video is shit.
We're almost done, Mel. We're almost there. Don't you worry, buddy.
It's boring, but it's true. And as an aside, on my own aside, I promise you, if I ever find any evidence or any even...
Oh, people are saying under is better for cat owners. That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
Why is it better for cat owners?
Because if the cat spins it,
down.
Yeah, it would never unspool.
It doesn't unspool.
Why don't you just close the door?
You could do that.
That works well too.
Oh, wait, well, what if it pulls at the toilet paper?
Modern
and not
problems, modern solutions.
The cat could still unspool it. It'll just be harder, I think. I do think there's some fair logic there, actually.
Perhaps it's litter boxes in the bathroom too.
Oh.
I like to go to... Never mind.
Suggestion that game reviewers are being paid off, I will tell you in a heartbeat. I would get so many subscribers. People would be so happy with me. I would get so many views.
You don't fucking need them. Like, why you're expressing... Your whole point was those poor destitute people will absolutely expose this story because it would get them engagement, which simultaneously gives them the motivation for the bribe. And now you're telling us, as someone who is absolutely fine and well off money-wise, you would expose the story. Like, okay, I don't even know, like, what does this help? How does this do anything?
So much credibility. She finally outed it. Wow, look at this person go. That's my epics. Instead, I'm doing my routinely dumb bitch move of telling you.
I would say that you are overestimating how much the average person recognizes the names of games journalists.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the average person is paying that much attention to like who is breaking these stories. Like even like someone like Jason Schreier, I presume that like most people probably don't even know who he is.
Pointed out, if it were happening, I really hesitate to use the word if it were happening, then it wouldn't be done in a way that she could expose it like that. It would be underhanded.
Very few people would actually know.
That there were these things where like thousands of people worked on a video game and then it comes out after the game was developed that there was some crazy shit happening. Why wouldn't it come out sooner when there's so many eyeballs on it?
What I'm trying to get at is they will use subtlety. They will likely have lawyers recommending how to do it.
Yep.
Why would they just explicitly send you a fucking email that says, I would like to bribe you, please? Like, that's not going to happen.
If you need elaboration on the bribe offer, please just email me back at
Dude, it's this
biz whatever.
It's like,
want to know more about bribes, please Google it.
It's the evolution of the bribery, because when you give them the bad review, they say, you know what, we're not inviting you to this next conference. We'd like to invite you to the year after. Really, it'll just depend on the quality of your writing. Something like that. What are you going to do, take them to court? They're trying to bribe me. No, we're not. We would never do that. That's ridiculous, and our lawyers will fucking kill you.
Most of you probably don't want to hear. Not most of you. It's just the ones who don't want to hear it really don't want to hear it and are definitely going to get mad at me in the comment sections of this video. Like, I'm aware of that. In fact, I will probably lose subscribers.
Ooh, I'm going to get cancelled.
I like actively reject the proven to be excellent strategy of saying the thing the masses would like to hear.
Shut up.
To make a controversial video that would force people to yell at me. All of that to say, it would be a lot easier for me.
Listen, you need to understand that she ain't no usual Ulysses. She doesn't just fucking say random, boring, lame, and well-accepted shit. She'll tell you how it is, even at the cost of people not liking it for it.
How it is, which is ultimately a defense of the AAA video game industry.
And the shitting on indie.
Lizard monolith and shit on the fucking people just making video games with whatever they have around.
Someone who actually does work in media to come out and say reviewers are being paid off. If it were happening, they would have done it by now 1,000,000 times over.
They have done it by now.
They have done it.
What are you talking about? God.
Already, I would have done it by now 1,000,000 times over already. I don't review games that don't accept codes. I have no reason to lie to you about this.
I have no reason to lie to you about this. Oh, it's like the video is so rich. I love every part of it in a way.
It's just not happening.
I think I'm going cross-eyed.
It's just some fucking guy. There are also just a bunch of factors where it comes to some fucking guy's opinion, where the person who reviews the game is the most likely to be excited about that game because they put their name down on the sheet where they said they wanted to review it.
No. You just explained all the benefits of access and engagement, and the fact that you only review things that people are looking for to get your name out there, to increase your career. And it may have nothing to do with your interest in the IP whatsoever. How does she not listen to herself?
Like, maybe not even the best way that things should work. Like, at IGN, the most excited you are for the game means that you're more likely to review it. Maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe you should get people who are indifferent so that you can get a more neutral perspective.
So they are likely to be more interested in it. Basically, some fucking guy is probably into the thing that he signed up to play however many hours of it.
Like, this is basically saying it's almost like it systematically or systemically, like, has a positivity bias. Because the person who's most likely to review the game was most likely to be, like, excited for it, which
she switched it to interested in, which is like... I would hope you're fucking interested in the thing that you're professionally paid to review for the sake of consumer information.
Yeah, in the most general sense of the word. But I mean, if you're I'm
you.
super duper duper hyped for like Diablo 4, I want to review it, compared to someone who's like, I'm indifferent on that one, but obviously, I'll give it a fair shot. It almost sounds like the system makes it to where it's like positively skewed, because the person who's going to review it is probably more likely to like it anyway.
And write a review of. That's why he signed up to play it. And my suggestion for people looking for game reviews that they align with is actually to just find an individual or a couple of individuals, a reviewer, like one writer or like one YouTuber.
What a genius idea that not everyone already does.
Wow, nobody. Yeah, it's not like anybody's ever done this before.
Nobody ever talks about like a YouTuber or a reviewer of any kind that they're interested in and rely upon for anything. Nobody ever does that for anyone, really. Everyone always relies on IGN specifically and IGN is so cool and awesome and respected, and this video has really helped that. You know, I used to think they were retarded, but now, wow, it's just.
I thought they were cringe, but they're actually super based.
No concern for the medium whatsoever. They just care about the huge corporate fucking monsters they've latched themselves onto. Sick.
Who you really align with and actively seek out their opinions. I don't even feel like it makes sense to read every IGN game review when IGN...
Who the fuck would? Like, literally who?
Gotta find out what IGN
What poor zombie fucking did that? Jesus. Put him out of his misery.
It's just 20 different some fucking guys who have vastly different opinions from one another even, and frequently disagree on review scores even as employees of the same company. Like I said, while I worked there, there were review scores that were given out that I really did not agree with.
Yeah, like that one fucking asshole, right?
the one piece of shit that we all hate.
Guy, fucking piece of shit.
I do about that because I'm not the some fucking guy who reviewed that particular thing. What I do personally is just ask my friends. I don't read reviews at all. Literally never.
All your friends are reviewers.
I was about to say that, but also undermining the whole value of your whole fucking profession again. Why would I do that?
It's like, why don't you, huh? Well, I mean, I guess it's because she's out of it, right? So
yeah, she's out of it, so she can just talk mad shit.
Like, it's all good.
That's she's got plenty of friends that are going to exist in that profession. And why would you? That's still her past work.
No, I know. But hey, look, all right, that ladder. Well, you can kick it down once you got off it, all right? I don't know, it's just weird, isn't it? To just shit. So, like, the whole point of this system, the whole point of this video has been to, like, essentially defend the nature of how all of it's run, and, like, the nature of these reviews, and to argue for how the people who write these reviews effectively have more of a right to have a perspective on these games. So then be like, yeah, but I mean, I don't fucking read them.
I don't fucking read them.
Who cares?
To me whatsoever. And I even felt this way when I worked in that space. I just asked friends what they think of
well, there you go.
something and what they like about it and what they didn't like about it, and based on what I know about that friend and what they said they liked or they didn't like, I can make an assessment on whether I will or will not like something. Basically, 7 out of 10 is the average because
yeah, but you can make an assessment based on somebody who you don't know based on their arguments, right?
No, we're not even we're not even pretending anymore. It's just like she made reference to this earlier. I was going to say something, but I guess now is like searching for reviews that you align with, as in. What's the phrase I'm looking for? Because it's been a while in the stream. Where you just confirmation bias. You just want the thing that tells you that you were right to feel the way that you did. And she's like, if you want that, you just got to find the person that aligns with you. As if that's not the most intuitively obvious thing that everyone does anyway. Which is honestly a frustrating thing we shouldn't encourage. Don't just listen to people who automatically agree with you about everything. Don't just try to search for confirmation bias. Try to expand your possible perception of a particular thing. Look into other people's perspectives. And then the reason why I've triggered onto this is because Free's like, what about their arguments? It's like, she's not even entertaining they're making any. They're just saying, it was good. Does that make you feel good? And then they go, yeah. And then you go, that other thing, though, that was bad. Then they go, no, I like that. You go, no, yeah, it was good. You're good for liking that. It's
you're
like
good for liking it.
It's so sad, and it kills discussion, kills analysis. What the fuck is the point in any of it if it's just making you feel better about the fact that you like Star Wars Outlaws?
Yeah, and all reviews are the same, and no one has expertise over anyone else, and everything's valid, but here's our publication. We'll accept ads for our opinions.
Here's a better one. Find people who you believe are honest. Fuck the confirmation bias.
It's the spookiest time of year, and what's more suitable than EFAP celebrating with a brand new set of terrifying plushies? Introducing the EFAP Halloween plushie set, starting with Mauler the Longpire, a terrifying monster of bloodthirst and long. This cuddly beast is both infamous and primal in his desire to drain the very soul from the world of media, and he's coming for you. But he's not alone. How could the Longpire be complete without his trusty doggo? Rags-O-Lantern. Poised charmingly in his pumpkin, your Rags-O-Lantern will be there to offer his support and encouragement and sarcastic commentary to all your endeavors. This gourd-adorned Shiba Inu will give your pumpkin patch a pantalooned pooch's worth of company, and of course, both of these fine, fiendish fellows are joined by yet another. Though his eyes may have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, Fringy the Raven will gladly perch atop your couch, cuddly and at the ready. This corvid ventures nowhere without his scythe, and he's more than ready to slash his way through all obstacles. But not without the final member of this cutthroat cohort. Hear the bell as it strikes the hour of the wolf. When the midnight sky is red, a beast shall emerge from the forest to plunder your local pizza parlor. Behold, the dreaded werewolf, complete with the sunken eyes of a beast who avoids the searing heat of the sun, carrying with him a slice of his latest victim. This legend of the night will surely be a fantastic addition to this crew of dark demons and pumpkin playmates. But that's not all, no sir. Have you ever left home only to worry you're leaving the members of your favorite podcast behind? Do you despair when Mauler's commentary, Fringy's laughs, Wolf's fury, or Rags' puns aren't around anymore? Well, anguish no longer. Now you can stay warm and cozy during those chilly autumn days while constantly explaining to everyone that, no, it's not electronic fapping, I swear. Introducing the official Every Frame a Pause Halloween hoodie. Perfect for lounging around indoors, shopping, long walks on the pier, weddings, baby showers, funerals, Halloween, Christmas. Complete with the expected furnishings of the season, as well as some gorgeous artwork by Black Soul Odin. The EFAP hoodie is ready to keep you warm and comfy through those winter months. There may even be a surprise guest on the back. Pick up yours today, because once the campaign ends, it'll be gone for good. And don't forget Mauler the Longpire, Rags-O-Lantern, Fringy the Raven, and Werewolf. Completing the EFAP Halloween set. For every item you pick up together, the discount will increase. Be sure about what you'd like before it's too late, as the spooky season will not last forever. Find them all at makeship.com/shop/EFAP. All links can be found in the description. Thank you all so much for watching and supporting the show. We will see you next time.